Chapter 2757. Boom, boom, boom. Under the frenzied attacks of the bandits, the formation finally started to shatter layer by layer, revealing a corner of the material ruins. The bandit leader wearing the wolf mask was overjoyed. He led the remaining 50 bandits and charged towards the material ruins. The bandit leader in black didn't want to fall behind either. He led the bandits and charged towards the material ruins like hungry tigers pouncing on their prey. Little did they know, the bandits had just stepped onto the material ruins when the surrounding scenery suddenly changed. They fell into an endless illusion. Just as they were panicking, Masters what activated the formation's divine power. Qin Heng, Wu Ming, and Xin Tianxing also took the opportunity to attack. Although there were many bandits, their cultivation levels weren't high. Only the two leaders had reached the level of a Dao Lord. Moreover, they were ordinary Dao Lords. They were easily suppressed by Qin Heng and the others. As for the other bandits, they were quickly killed by Qin Heng and the others. Then, they threw their corpses into the void outside the material ruins. The bandits who came later were all shocked. They realized that the rumored treasure wasn't so easy to obtain. They all left the material ruins. However, they weren't willing to leave just like that. They stayed and watched from afar. Master, how should we deal with these two bandits? Qin Heng led the two restrained bandit leaders to the periphery of the formation where Su Fong was. Whoosh! Su Fong condensed a thought and turned it into a lifelike figure. It passed through the formation and came out. Master has just become a Dao Lord. His thought is so solid that he can transform into a human form. Qin Heng was greatly shocked, and besides feeling shocked, his reverence towards Su Fong grew even more. The two bandit leaders also looked at the figure formed by Su Fong's thought in shock. Why was that? Generally speaking, the way a Dao Lord cultivator used divine powers was similar to that of a cultivator from a low-level universe. On the other hand, a Dao Lord cultivator could transform their understanding of the Dao into Dao runes. They could condense their dermic powers and Dao heart into thoughts to form powerful attacks, defenses, and shackles. Not only did their power far exceed that of a Dao Lord, but they could also use divine powers with a single thought. However, using a will attack consumed quite a bit of energy. Dao Lords weren't able to form that many thoughts, and Supreme Dao Lords were only able to form 100 at most. In addition, most Dao Lords had extremely loose minds, making it difficult for them to take human form. Su Fong had just advanced to the Dao Lord realm, but he was already able to transform his thoughts into a human form. This was enough to show how astonishing his Dao heart, willpower, and cultivation were. The shadow formed by Su Fong's thought looked down at the two bandit leaders and asked, "Why are you here?" The bandit wearing the wolf mask hurriedly said, "Sir, you still don't know? Now, the news is spread in the Daoist profound world and the surrounding profound worlds. They say that you stole all the treasures in the City Lord's mansion when the City Lord died for no reason. Hee, looks like Daoist Sect Master has put in a lot of effort to deal with me." Su Fong didn't need to guess to know that this was the Daoist Gate Master's scheme. He wanted to use him as a fat piece of meat to attract the bandits from the heaven-forsaken desolate region so that they could exhaust him to death. "You believe those rumors so easily?" Su Fong continued to ask. "There's also news from the Blood Valley. Although it's different from the rumors, it's said that you killed the City Lord of the Second Star Slaughter City. This news is really laughable. However, there's one thing that's the same. All the treasures in the City Lord's mansion are in your hands." The black-clothed bandit hurriedly replied. When he mentioned the matter of the Second Star Slaughter City, it was obvious that he didn't believe the news from the Blood Valley. Qin Heng sneered. "The news from the Blood Valley is correct. The City Lord of the Second Star Slaughter City was killed by Master. All the treasures in the City Lord's mansion, including the Chamber of Commerce, all the wealth, and resources are in Master's possession. Moreover, Master obtained 100 victories in the Blood Slaughter Arena in the Second Star Slaughter City and is now listed on the Heavenly Profound ranking. You laughable ants, how dare you target Master? You're courting death. You killed the City Lord of the Second Star Slaughter City. 100 victories in the Blood Slaughter Arena and is listed on the Heavenly Profound ranking. The two bandit leaders couldn't believe it. However, Su Fong didn't intend to let them believe anything. He said to Qin Hung, "I'll leave them to you. If they don't submit, just kill them and throw them outside." Then, Su Fong's thought returned to the formation and was sucked into the Tao Palace by his true body. The bandits outside were intimidated by Su Fong's ruthless methods and the powerful formation on the material ruins. They didn't dare to attack Su Fong anymore. However, they didn't leave. Instead, more and more of them gathered. This was the heaven-forsaken desolate region. There were as many bandits as there were hairs on a cow. Once they smelled the scent of treasures, they would swarm over like flies. Su Fong created a time formation on the material ruins. The flow of time in the formation was 10 times faster than outside. Naturally, the recovery speed was astonishing. In the blink of an eye, 30 years had passed in the space of the formation. Suddenly, Law's voice came from inside the heavenly Tao avatar. Law and Su Fong's other relatives, friends, and subordinates lived in Su Fong's universe. They hadn't taken the initiative to talk to Su Fong for a long time. The moment they spoke, it was good news. "Su Fong, quickly release me from your avatar. I'm going to level up." Level up. Law was finally going to level up. His level up meant that he could transcend the low-level universe and have the ability to survive in the Jiuquan God realm. Law's level up this time wasn't surprising at all. QL11, the main credit, was the Blood Evil Stone. Law was from the Azura Divine Clan. The Blood Evil Stone Su Fong obtained in the Blood Valley contained pure and high-level blood evil energy. It was just right for Law to cultivate. It hadn't been too long since the Blood Valley. He didn't expect Law to level up so quickly. Great news. Law's level up was naturally great news. Su Fong was overjoyed and released Law from the Heavenly Tao avatar. Law's level up this time was to transcend the low-level universe. Therefore, it didn't attract the chaos tribulation and didn't take too long. It took only 3 months for Law to complete his promotion. After transcending the low-level universe, Law's entire person changed completely. He looked about the same age as Su Fong in his early 20s. He had sword-like eyebrows and starry eyes. He was heroic, rough, high-spirited, and in high spirits. At this time, Law was equivalent to transcending the shackles of resisting the universe and becoming a transcendent. However, he wasn't a true god, but a fake one. Su Fong took out a large number of blood evil stones and blood evil pills for Law to cultivate and stabilize his realm. Su Fong now had all kinds of resources piled up into a mountain. Any one of them would be a great fortune for the cultivators and Big Goblin inside, the Heavenly Tao avatar. Unfortunately, no matter how many resources he had, he still needed the cultivators and Big Goblin inside Su Fong's universe to digest them. Moreover, it would take a lot of time to settle down. After Law's level up, Su Fong also recovered more than half in the formation. However, he was still far from the normal state of the lower level of the Tao realm. Not long after Law's level up, people from the Pongsong universe transcended one after another and became transcendent. First was Shao Wanting, then Emperor Sangxiu, and Emperor Only Dao also broke through not long after. Transcending the universe was the goal of every low-level universe cultivator. It could even be called the ultimate goal. Although Shao Wanting, Sangxiu, and Only Dao were high and mighty emperor powerhouses in the Pongsong universe, the possibility of them being able to transcend was not high. The reason why they were able to transcend so quickly was naturally because of the various resources provided by Su Fong. The three of them were naturally grateful to Su Fong. Helping them was a piece of cake for Su Fong. However, for them, it required a lifetime of struggle. Inside Su Fong's universe, Su Fong's other relatives, friends, and powerhouses under his command, no one else was able to level up. Even Xuanqin was still cultivating in seclusion at this time. Although the speed of improvement was amazing after fusing with the ice feather god Wan, it was still not to the level of transcendence. After all, only tens of thousands of years had passed. Qingyu and Bai Ling were also constantly settling down. It was also difficult for them to transcend in a short time. As for Su Yaotian and other cultivators from the Pongsong universe's Great World and the Big Goblin, most of them would stop at the height of the low-level universe. This was due to the congenital restriction. Su Fong had no way to solve this problem at this time. Outside the material ruins, more and more bandits had gathered over the years. There was no lack of true powerhouses among them. Not only were there famous bandits from around the Wudao mysterious world, but there were also many powerhouses from the Wudao sect. Because they were afraid of the formation outside the material ruins, plus Su Fong's ruthless means, and because many bandits were afraid of each other, no one took the initiative to attack. As for Su Fong's 100 victories on the second Killing Star City's blood-killing platform and killing the city lord, not many people knew about it, because the Wudao sect deliberately covered it up. However, some powerful bandits heard about what happened in the Blood Valley and learned about Su Fong's brilliant battle record. They snorted and did not believe it at all. A mere Dao True Realm cultivator could shake the city lord of Killing Star City? In the eyes of those bandits, it was impossible. Instead, they treated the truth as a rumor and laughed it off. The Wudao sect deliberately exaggerated the fact that Su Fong had obtained all the treasures of the City Lord Mansion. This made the bandits believe it without a doubt, and their greed grew stronger. In the end, under the instigation of the Wudao sect's powerhouses, the bandit leaders and bandits from all over the world reached an agreement. They would work together to break the formation and suppress Su Fong. After this, they would divide the treasures obtained by Su Fong. On this day, boom, bandit forces from all over the world, as well as some lone bandits, charged toward the material ruins where Su Fong was like a tide. All kinds of thoughts, supernatural powers, and Xian Bao formed a terrifying attack. It crushed the formation outside the material ruins. Although the formation created by Master Zhua was extraordinary and there were many of them, it was still unable to stop such a shocking attack. Under the tide-like attack, the formation shattered layer by layer. Even the material ruins were collapsing. Boom! The formation finally collapsed completely. The material ruins also turned into debris. Chapter 2758. The commotion caused by the destruction of the formation and material ruins hadn't even calmed down when numerous bandits impatiently charged into the chaos. Suddenly, Su Fong's indifferent voice resounded. "Didn't all of you want my treasures? I'll give them all to all of you." As soon as he finished speaking, a strand of Xian Guang swept out and swept away all the dust and debris in the surroundings. The Xian Guang was enveloped by countless treasures. All sorts of Xian Baos, medicinal pills, spirit treasures, and gems floated within the Xian Guang. It was like a vast ocean that flickered with multicolored light and emanated shocking auras of the Tao and spirit energy. Hiss! All the bandits gasped at practically the exact same time, and then their gasps converged together and transformed into rumbling that sounded like a tsunami. There were truly too many treasures. Moreover, all of them were extraordinary treasures. Even the number one power in the heaven-forsaken region was unable to produce so many treasures in an instant, let alone the other bandits. "All of those treasures are mine." A lone bandit reacted the quickest. He executed a thought that instantly transformed into divine might that swept towards the Xianguang. Bang! 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 Over 100 strands of thought and the might of over 10 Xian Baos blasted onto the bandit like a surging tide. That bandit's strength was extraordinary, and he'd attained the intermediate Dowlord realm. He was a renowned bandit in the heaven-forsaken region. However, the bandit didn't have the slightest ability to resist such a terrifying attack, and he was instantly blasted into ash. The strand of thought that swept towards the treasures shattered along with the death of that bandit. Swoosh! 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 Countless bandits swarmed over and attacked the treasures enveloped by the Xianguang at the same time. They were like a pack of hungry wolves that had fallen into madness. Rumble! Crack! The divine might released by various strands of thought and the might of the Xian Baos and talisman markings caused waves of explosions that shook the heavens and the earth. Bandits were losing their lives at every single moment. However, They were like hungry wolves that had smelled blood, and they'd already forgotten about life and death as they charged forward dauntlessly. All of these treasures belong to me. Whoever dares to snatch them shall die. A skinny old man with a black spot between his eyebrows wearing a black robe stepped through the void. Surprisingly, this person was a peerless expert at the peak of the Downlord realm. Everywhere he went, he crushed countless bandits and took all the treasures in the Xianguang. Blackheart Old Monster. That person is the Blackheart Old Monster whose might shakes the heavens and the forsaken desolation region. Now that the treasure is in his hands, who can take it away? Although the bandits were unwilling, they were afraid of the old man's strength and stopped attacking. Only I have the qualifications to possess so many treasures. Not bad. My luck this time is really not bad. Old Freak Xin smiled sinisterly. A wave of divine might swept out from his palm and was about to absorb all the treasures into his body. Suddenly, Blackheart Old Monster raised his white eyebrows, and surprise flashed in his eyes. He reached out and grabbed the Xianguang barrier around the treasure. Pooh! The Xianguang and all the treasures within the Xianguang burst like soap bubbles, and they transformed into specks of starlight that dispersed into the surroundings. Those so-called treasures were actually all illusions formed from illusions. We've been tricked. We've all been tricked by that kid, Su Fong. Capture him. We must burn his bones and scatter his ashes. All the bandits were dumbstruck at first, and then they roared furiously. Over 10,000 bandits had actually been tricked into killing each other by the illusions of a Dao monarch who just advanced into the Dao monarch realm, causing countless casualties. So their rage was obvious. Old Freak Xin was extremely furious as well. Old Freak Xin, who'd shaken the heavens and the forsaken desolation region, had actually been played like a monkey. So the rage in his heart was obvious. His gaze that was filled with fierce killing intent swept through the surroundings in search of Su Fong. However, how could he find even a trace of Su Fong? A mere Dao monarch, an ant-like existence. Wouldn't it be a huge joke if he were to escape? Old Freak Xin sent out his senses, and then he laughed ghastly before he executed his movement technique and soared through the sky. It turned out that Su Fong had executed the yang refinement art and created illusions to lure the bandits into killing each other, whereas he'd seized the opportunity to leave in an unhurried manner. After he'd advanced into the Dao monarch realm, his cultivation hadn't just advanced by a great step. The might of his dark yang dharma body and the yang refinement art had advanced to a new level as well. Even peerless experts at the peak of the Downlord realm had been deceived by the yang refinement art and the illusions he'd created with his thoughts. Of course, it was because those bandits were greedy. They were only focused on seizing the treasures and didn't carefully distinguish the truth from the illusions, so they were easily deceived. Actually, Su Fong didn't intend to flee. There were too many bandits, and it was impossible to kill them all. Moreover, killing them was useless. So, Su Fong escaped from the bandits and left in embarrassment. After executing the blazing light movement technique and flying for over 2 hours, Su Fong stopped in midair, and then his brows knit together while strands of coldness appeared in the depths of his eyes. It turned out that there were 2 peak Downlord realm experts following him, and it was impossible for him to shake them off even with the blazing light movement technique. One of them was a middle-aged man from the Downlord sect. He had a hooked nose, a gaze that was sharp like an eagle's, and his speed was swift like an eagle's. The other old man was from an unknown place. He wore a crimson-red robe that was covered in numerous black-colored divine markings of flames. His aura was empty, and his square face revealed a domineering and mighty aura. He was probably a peerless expert from a bandit group. Both of them stopped 50 kilometers away from Su Fong when they noticed that he'd stopped fleeing. They were so far away, so they could execute their thoughts with a thought and suppress Su Fong. The middle-aged man from the Downlord sect laughed coldly and said, "Kid, since you know you can't escape, then why don't you just obediently allow yourself to be captured?" "Allow myself to be captured?" Su Fong laughed coldly and embarrassedly. "Looks like the lesson I taught the Downlord sect wasn't deep enough. The old man in the crimson red robe chuckled and said, "Left Emissary Han, we've already agreed that this kid will belong to your Dowlord sect, and all the treasures he obtained from the Blood Valley will belong to me." The middle-aged man from the Dowlord sect nodded and said, "The Dowlord sect naturally won't go back on its word. However, this kid is extremely difficult to deal with. Sector Lord Ghostflame, don't be careless." The old man in the crimson red robe said, "If this kid was a simple character, then how could your Dowlord sect be willing to let me interfere with such a fat piece of meat that's already in your mouth? Don't worry, even if this kid is really ranked on the heavenly profound rankings, he won't be able to escape this time. My actions aren't restricted by the Jioshuan's laws." The two of them communicated without restraint and completely disregarded Su Fong. Swish! A black Xian Guang tore through the air and transformed into a black-robed old man. It was Old Man He Xian, left Emissary Han of the Dowlord sect, and Sector Lord Ghost Flame of the Ghost Flame world. Old Man He Xian's expression changed slightly when he saw the two experts with the same cultivation as him. When they saw Old Man He Xian, the middle-aged man for the Dowlord sect and the old man in the crimson red robe revealed fear and hatred from their deep eyes. Su Fong wasn't surprised by Old Man He Xian's arrival. The illusion he cast could deceive those low-level cultivators, but it couldn't deceive peerless experts at the peak of the Dowlord realm. However, Su Fong wasn't afraid at all. He possessed various extraordinary abilities, so he didn't take the three-peak Dowlord experts too seriously at this moment. Old Man He Xian grunted coldly as he looked at Su Fong and said coldly, "Kid, you actually dare to play tricks on me. Once I capture you, I'll surely eat your Dao heart, just like how I dealt with those cultivators from the heaven-forsaken slave race. After that, I'll refine you into a puppet." Meanwhile, left Emissary Han of the Dowlord sect suddenly said, "Su Fong, this is Old Man He Xian whose might shakes the entire heaven-forsaken region. However, his reputation isn't because of how formidable his strength is, and it's because he loves to devour the hearts of cultivators to cultivate evil cultivation techniques." The old man in the crimson red robe, Sector Lord Ghostflame, was stunned, and then he understood left Emissary Han's intentions and said, "Moreover, Old Man He Xian bullies the weak and fears the strong. He doesn't dare to offend formidable figures, so he specializes in bullying those lowly cultivators from the heaven-forsaken slave race. He's once massacred no less than 100 cities of cultivators from the heaven-forsaken slave race and killed countless people. Their intentions were very obvious. They intended to sow discord between Su Fong and Old Man He Xian, and then they'd reap the benefits from the battle. I do bully the weak and fears the strong. However, I'm afraid of experts that have surpassed the Dowlord realm. I'll kill any cultivator in the Dowlord realm who dares to obstruct my path to wealth." Old Man He Xian laughed ghastly and coldly. After that, a dark Xian Guang flashed out from the space between his brows, and it transformed into a ghastly white ghost claw that grabbed at Su Fong. Su Fong's heart suddenly constricted as if it was forcefully grabbed by an invisible hand, and then the invisible hand suddenly withdrew, causing Su Fong's heart to seem as if it was about to jump out from his chest. Whem, whem, whem. Su Fong's Dao heart shook and emanated rays of light that shattered the evil will. QL 11-inch, your Dao heart is actually so extraordinary. However, I like cultivators with firm Dao hearts the most. Only such hearts are tasty. Old Man He Xian laughed strangely as a strand of cold wind swept out from the space between his brows, and it descended onto the ghost claw. The ghost claw instantly became material, and it instantly soared through the sky and clawed fiercely at Su Fong's heart. A strand of might that came from time suddenly surged out from within Su Fong's body, and it enveloped his body. Pooh! Su Fong's figure was crushed into pieces by the ghost claw. Old Man He Xian hadn't expected that he would be able to succeed so easily. He was first stunned, and then he realized something, causing his eyes to reveal surprise. The three sovereign mysterious sects' temporal divine ability? It turned out that Su Fong had executed the temporal grand Tao divine ability with a single thought, and it allowed him to surpass the restraints of time in reality. What Old Man He Xian had killed was merely an image of him that was left behind an instant ago. In the blink of an eye, Su Fong appeared more than 10 miles away from Old Man He Xian. His body was enveloped by the phantom of a 6-story pagoda, and his entire person was like the incarnation of a pagoda. In the state of the profound yellow avatar, Su Fong fused with the power of thousands of experts within the profound yellow avatar and grabbed hundreds of sword chi that surged towards Old Man He Xian. How dare you show off your insignificant skills in front of me? Not good. Chapter 2759. Old Man He Xian couldn't be blamed for being careless. After all, he was a peak Tao Lord. No one could threaten him except for the peerless experts who had surpassed the Tao Lord realm. Su Fong had just become a Tao Lord, so Old Man He Xian naturally wouldn't take him seriously and thought that he could easily suppress him with a single strike. QL11 Su Fong's Xian Wang avatar combined the strength of over 1,000 experts, including more than a dozen Tao Lords. He executed the origin harmonization sword technique with an unstoppable force. Old Man He Xian was caught off guard, so he could only defend himself. Crack! The white skeletons released by Old Man He Xian could withstand the full force attack of a peak Tao Lord. However, under the powerful attack of the origin harmonization sword technique, they were instantly minced into bone fragments and scattered in all directions. The sword formation's power didn't decrease as it minced Old Man He Xian's body into pieces. Swoosh! 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 Over 10,000 figures suddenly flew out from Old Man He Xian's shattered body and merged with the pieces of his body. In an instant, numerous Old Man He Xian floated in the void. There were actually over 10,000 of them. Not only did they look the same, but even their auras were exactly the same. I've refined over 10,000 doppelgangers, which means I have over 10,000 avatars. As long as one avatar isn't destroyed, I won't die. Over 10,000 Old Man He Xian laughed wildly, and his laughter reverberated in the void. The Blackheart Old Monster practices an evil cultivation method that turns cultivators into Dharmakaya puppets. Although he doesn't have the strength of a Dharmakaya, he can inhabit the puppets with his consciousness. As long as his true spirit is not destroyed, he is immortal. The Ghost Flame Realm Lord frowned. He was afraid of Old Man He Xian's evil technique and had a headache. The Tao Lord Sex Hans was snorted. This monster has used this technique to escape the pursuit of numerous experts. Otherwise, how could he be so carefree until now? The Ghost Flame Realm Lord said, "Fortunately, Old Man He Xian attacked first. If it were the two of us, we would have been caught off guard and would have suffered a great loss at the hands of Su Fong. His strength can be considered as a big shot in the heaven-forsaken wilderness. Left Emissary Han, did your Taoist sect underestimate this kid's strength, or did you intentionally conceal it?" Left Emissary Han said, "I have indeed underestimated this person. However, he is currently entangled with Blackheart Old Monster. Even if he is not killed, he will not be able to escape. When the time comes, you and I can easily suppress him." The Ghost Flame Domain Lord nodded. "That's right. Although the Blackheart Old Monster's puppets aren't as strong as before, there are many of them. It won't be easy for Su Fong to escape." Just as he finished speaking, Chi, Su Fong unleashed his blood, evil Dharma body. Streaks of dense slaughter marks appeared on his Dharma body, instantly condensing into streaks of slaughter sword chi that swept toward a Blackheart Old Monster's Dharma body puppet. Impossible. How could you possibly know that my soul is residing in this puppet body? Blackheart Old Monster's incredulous voice came from the puppet body. He found it difficult to believe that over 10,000 puppet avatars were exactly the same. Even a peerless expert that surpassed the Tao Lord realm would find it extremely difficult to notice the puppet avatar where the soul quintessence resided if they didn't possess a formidable and special divine ability. Yet Su Fong had easily found it. Blackheart Old Monster naturally did not know that Su Fong had mastered the divine skill of sensing fate. It was easy for Su Fong to find his soul origin. Moreover, Su Fong had also unleashed the life-shrinking technique. Together with the slaughter will, it formed a fate lock and oppression on Blackheart Old Monster's soul. Under the impact of the sharp slaughter sword chi, the puppet body began to shatter. The soul origin that resided in the puppet body was also impacted by the slaughter will and oppressed by the fate power of the life-shrinking technique. Although it was not shattered, it was also heavily injured. Whoosh! A shadow darted out from the puppet body. It was Blackheart Old Monster's soul. Then, wisps of black smoke came out from the puppet bodies. They turned into thoughts and shrouded the soul. They quickly condensed into Blackheart Old Monster and disappeared into the void in a flash. This Blackheart Old Monster was also a ruthless character. Seeing that the situation was not good, he directly abandoned the puppet body and used his thoughts to condense a divine body to escape. However, even if he was lucky enough to escape, his vitality was greatly damaged. It would be difficult for him to recover to his original strength. Those puppet bodies had lost control of their thoughts. They floated in the void like living corpses. Su Fong's eyes flashed with a domineering light. He looked at the Taoist sect's left emissary Han and the Ghost Flame Domain Lord who were in shock. He said domineeringly, "Which one of you will go first? Or all of you together?" The Ghost Flame Domain Lord snorted coldly. "What an arrogant brat. You think you can be arrogant in front of me just because you defeated Blackheart Old Monster? No matter how extraordinary you are only one person. I am the Ghost Flame Domain Lord of the heaven-forsaken desolate region. I have a powerful force. How can you be so arrogant?" Then he waved his hand, and a Xian Guang rushed out. Many figures stood in front of the Ghost Flame Domain Lord. There were more than 500 people in total. There were as many as 8 Dao Lords. Among them, 3 were Upper Dao Lords. The rest were powerful Dao Lords and Dao True Realm experts. Left Emissary Han praised, "I didn't expect the Ghost Flame Domain Lord to have so many experts under his command. No wonder you could dominate a Xian world." The Ghost Flame Domain Lord showed a proud expression. However, he said humbly, "My force is nothing to the Taoist sect." The heaven-forsaken desolate region was different from the other places in the Eastern Xian Divine Domain. The so-called Xian world was naturally not as big as the other Xian worlds in the Eastern Xian Divine Domain. Its force was also far inferior. Although the Ghost Flame Domain was called a Xian world, it was just a larger material plane that was occupied by a powerful bandit force. However, the Ghost Flame Domain Lord had so many experts under his command. In addition to his own strength, even if he was not a top force in the heaven-forsaken desolate region, he could be considered a first-rate force. This time, the Ghost Flame Domain Lord had mobilized all his forces to fight for the treasure. Obviously, he was determined to get Su Fong's treasure. The Ghost Flame Domain Lord looked at Su Fong and was very proud. "Kid, unless you have strength that surpasses a Dao Lord, you are alone. Otherwise, the experts under my command will instantly crush you into powder. Hand over the treasure obediently. Maybe I will let you go." Comparing numbers? Su Fong laughed involuntarily. The Ghost Flame Domain Lord shouted to the experts under his command, "Capture him. If you can capture him alive, capture him alive. If you can't, kill him directly." Yes. The experts under the Ghost Flame Domain Lord's command charged towards Su Fong like a tide. Su Fong sneered and said, "Is it so great to have more people?" Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Su Fong waved his hand. Instantly, many figures appeared in front of him. There were not many of them. There were only about 1,500 to 600 of them. As for the experts, there were more than a dozen Dao Lords. There were as many as 3 Upper Dao Lords. The rest were mostly Dao Lords. There were very few Dao True Realm cultivators. Moreover, almost all of these cultivators appeared with Blood Fiend Dharma bodies. The Blood Fiend aura they released swept out in all directions, causing the endless void to fall into a monstrous slaughter. Most of the experts under Su Fong's command were subdued in the second-star killer city of the Blood Valley. They had all cultivated blood-fiend dharma bodies, not only in the heaven-forsaken desolate region, but also in the eastern profound divine domain. Cultivators with blood-fiend dharma bodies were much stronger than cultivators of the same level. With the suppression of the will of slaughter, they could even fight against 10 cultivators. The Ghost Flame domain experts who were charging towards Su Fong in an aggressive manner immediately withered under the impact of the killing aura of the experts under Su Fong's command. Their Tao hearts were shaken, and they all trembled in fear. The Ghost Flame domain lord and Left Emissary Han's expressions changed instantly. Left Emissary Han made a prompt decision and said to the Ghost Flame domain lord, "Ghost Flame domain lord, I didn't expect Su Fong to have such a strong overall strength. I'll take my leave first. Take care, domain lord." After he finished speaking, he displayed his Dharma body. Huge light wings that were hundreds of meters long extended from his back. He was like a giant eagle. As he flapped his wings, he flew tens of thousands of miles away in a flash. The experts of the Taoist sect saw that the situation was not good and fled. "Kill these bandits. All the treasures and resources on them will belong to you." At this moment, Su Fong's voice was filled with killing intent. "Thank you, Master." More than 1,000 experts under Su Fong's command shouted in unison. They swept towards the Ghost Flame domain experts with the momentum of sweeping away 1,000 troops. Boom, boom, boom. Not only did Su Fong have more experts under his command, their strength also far surpassed the Ghost Flame domain experts. Moreover, he had blood-fiend dharma bodies. The situation was one-sided. The Ghost Flame domain expert held on for less than half an incense's time. More than 1/3 of them were dead or injured. They began to collapse. "Su Fong, I'll kill you and take your treasures. I'll be able to make up for this loss." The Ghost Flame domain lord directly attacked Su Fong and released hundreds of thoughts in one breath. The thoughts instantly appeared around Su Fong and arranged in a formation. Then the divine flame aura suddenly exploded. It was not the ordinary divine flame aura. Instead, it was balls of black flames. Within each ball of flames, there was a strange and ferocious ghost roaring. More than 100 balls of flames instantly turned into a sea of fire and shrouded Su Fong. Horrifying flaming ghosts pounced towards Su Fong. In the heaven-forsaken wilderness, there were many cultivators who practiced the evil Tao techniques. The Ghost Flame domain lord was the same as the Black Heartle monster. They were both powerful cultivators who mastered the evil Tao techniques. The thoughts he displayed now not only contained the divine flame aura and Taoist rhymes, but also the evil intent. It made Su Fong feel as if he had fallen into a purgatory ghost domain. Break! Su Fong did not want to be entangled with the Ghost Flame domain lord. He directly merged with the 6 extreme Tao, Saint's will, and released a thought. Chi! The thought turned into a sharp and resplendent golden light. It contained the supreme Taoist rhymes and power of the gold Tao. Under the 6 extreme Tao, Saint's supreme will, the ghosts let out shrill cries and were instantly torn apart. The flames and ghost domain that shrouded Su Fong were also swept away. The golden light that was formed by the thought did not diminish. In a flash, it enveloped the Ghost Flame domain lord. Spare me. The Ghost Flame domain lord felt that the thought was vast and powerful. It had surpassed the Tao master. He was scared out of his wits and immediately begged for mercy. Puff. Chapter 2760. With the death of the Ghost Flame world lord, his subordinates had completely lost their will to fight. Over 100 of them were suppressed by the experts under Su Fong's command. Most of the remaining subordinates were killed, and only a few managed to escape. They quickly cleaned up the mess. Taoist sect, you want to kill me, Su Fong. How can I let you pay the price? Su Fong didn't leave. Instead, he executed the blazing light escape technique with all his strength. He transformed into a ray of fiery light and flew towards the direction that the Taoist sect's Left Emissary Han had fled. The blazing light escape technique was originally an incomplete escape technique. Su Fong had already repaired it with the Heaven's Expansion profound solution. This escape technique was extremely powerful. When Su Fong was at the lower Tao Truth realm, he was able to escape the pursuit of Taoist sects experts by executing the blazing light escape technique. Now that Su Fong had advanced into the Tao Monarch realm, his blazing light escape technique speed was even more shocking. Moreover, he could execute it for a long time. The Taoist sect's left emissary Han fled when he saw that the situation was bad. He used his avatar to execute a supreme ability and flew for 6 hours. I didn't expect that not only is Su Fong's strength formidable, he actually has so many experts under his command. Fortunately, the Ghost Flame World Lord was able to hold him back. Otherwise, I would be in danger. Left emissary Han concluded that Su Fong wouldn't pursue him. Therefore, he heaved a long sigh of relief and slowed down. Unexpectedly, Su Fong transformed into a ray of fiery light and flew through the void. Damn it, that Ghost Flame World Lord was actually so weak that he couldn't hold Su Fong back for too long. How can a Tao Monarch Realm cultivator execute such a heaven-defying escape technique? Left emissary Han was shocked. He used his avatar to execute another ability and transformed into a giant eagle. He flapped his wings and whistled out, as expected of a peak Taoist sect expert. When he fled with all his strength, Su Fong couldn't catch up to him even if he executed the blazing light escape technique. However, it was also impossible for left emissary Han to shake off Su Fong. The two of them were separated by a distance of thousands of miles. One chased while the other fled through the void. Left emissary Han's cultivation base was one realm higher than Su Fong. However, Su Fong's recovery speed was naturally shocking. Left emissary Han's control over to recover. Left emissary Han's. Left emissary Han's avatar. Damn it, why is Su Fong so difficult to deal with? Left emissary Han was both shocked and angry. He even felt that this was absurd. A dignified peak Tao Lord was actually being pursued madly by a Tao Lord that had just advanced into the Tao Lord realm. Such a feeling was extremely absurd indeed. Left emissary Hans to left emissary to die to the left Taoist Han. Emissary left Alice to the fly to Han to the fly to Tao to left to Tao. It turned out that they were the bandits who had besieged Su Fong because of the rumors spread by the Taoist sect. They were attacked by Su Fong's illusions and fought amongst themselves. They searched everywhere for Su Fong to no avail. Never had they imagined that they would run into him here. Left emissary Han was pleasantly surprised. He was like a drowning man who had grabbed onto a life-saving straw. He immediately shouted loudly, "Su Fong is here. Kill him." Su Fong? We've finally found that kid. Not only will I take all his treasures, I'll even skin him alive. The bandits were overjoyed, and they charged towards Su Fong. However, there were some bandits who were still rational. Some of them were experts from the Taoist sect. When they noticed that left emissary Han was being pursued by Su Fong, they were instantly shocked and felt that it was absurd. Su Fong was blocked by the bandits who had lost their rationality. Left emissary Han finally had a chance to catch his breath, and he sped up and fled. Some bandits reacted as well, and they immediately turned around and fled. Those who blocked Su Fong's path die. Su Fong's voice that was filled with murderous intent rolled out. Numerous slaughter marks released a murderous aura that transformed into a sword formation that swept out. Chi, 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 chi. The bandits who were blocking Su Fong's path lost their minds under the impact of the terrifying murderous aura, and their figures were blasted flying. A Taoist expert's thought was destroyed by the sword formation. He was so shocked that he wanted to flee for his life. However, Su Fong executed the true eyes of annihilation and burned his soul before he was killed by the sword formation. When the other bandits saw how powerful Su Fong was, they all retreated except for some bandits who were enraged. Boom, boom, boom. Su Fong released his dark yellow avatar and merged it with the strength of numerous experts. He was invincible wherever he went. An upper Taoist expert's body was shattered, and the remaining avatar fled in panic. Only then did the remaining bandits realize that Su Fong wasn't a piece of meat waiting to be slaughtered. He was clearly a god of death, and they scattered like birds and beasts. Let's see where you can run to. Su Fong revealed a domineering smile and continued to chase in the direction that Taoist sect's left emissary Han had fled. Whoosh! A giant eagle swept through the sky and suddenly stopped. It transformed into Taoist sect's left emissary Han. I've finally gotten rid of Su Fong. Damn it! I was actually chased by a cultivator who had just advanced to the Tao Lord realm. This is the greatest humiliation in my life. Left emissary Han was filled with shame and anger, and he gnashed his teeth. Suddenly, his divine light changed instantly, and fear surged out from his deep eyes. Damn it, he's actually catching up again. In a flash, a fiery light flashed from afar. It was Su Fong who was chasing after him. Left emissary Han gritted his teeth. He ignored the huge consumption of energy and used his divine ability to fly away again. Half a month later, left emissary Han was still unable to shake off Su Fong's pursuit. The consumption of his magic power and divine power made it difficult for him to continue. Just as he was in despair, a huge flying sword that was hundreds of meters long suddenly flew through the void. A middle-aged, scholarly cultivator sat cross-legged on the flying sword. His aura was faint, and he was actually an upper-level Tao Lord. Although he was not at the peak, he was still a formidable expert. Isn't this Lord Han of the Taoist sect? The middle-aged cultivator noticed left emissary Han fleeing and asked in surprise. Godlord Ironsword, I was ambushed and injured, and now I'm being chased. Help me stall for a moment, and I'll definitely repay you in the future. Left emissary Han said in a low voice. Lord Han, even left emissary Han, a peak Tao Lord, was being chased and forced to flee. Godlord Ironsword was no fool. Why would he risk his life for him? Left emissary Han snorted. That person is only a Tao Lord. If I hadn't been ambushed and injured, why would I fear him? Moreover, that person is Su Fong. Su Fong, the one chasing you, is actually Su Fong? Godlord Ironsword's eyes instantly lit up. Soon after, he revealed a lofty and domineering aura. That Su Fong is truly arrogant. He actually dared to hit Lord Han while he was down. Since I've encountered him, I won't sit by and watch no matter what. Many thanks. I'll take my leave first. Thank you for your trouble, Godlord Ironsword. Left emissary Han sneered in his heart, but he put on a grateful expression. He cupped his fists at Godlord Ironsword before fleeing for his life. Swish! Su Fong, in his fiery state, arrived in an instant. His figure suddenly stopped, and he transformed back into Su Fong's figure. It really is Su Fong. Although the members of the Taoist sect are all overbearing and arrogant, left emissary Han is a pretty good person. He has given me such a great fortune. Su Fong's portrait had long ago spread throughout the Taoist sect's mystic world and the surrounding mystic worlds. Godlord Ironsword instantly recognized Su Fong, and his eyes flashed with endless greed. As he sat cross-legged on his massive sword, he sent out a thought that transformed into sword chi that engulfed Su Fong. Seeking death, Su Fong used the True Yang Evil Slaying Sword to activate the True Yang Evil Slaying Sword, and his searing and sharp sword chi shattered and incinerated the surrounding sword chi. The True Yang Evil Slaying Sword's terrifying profound Yang Dao rhythm and sharp sword intent swept toward Godlord Ironsword. To think that a Tao Lord would possess such astonishing strength. Godlord Ironsword paled in shock. Only now did he realize that left emissary Han had not given him any great fortune, but had tricked him. Swish! QL-11, the giant sword under his body shot out, drawing a sword light that looked like the Milky Way, surging towards Su Fong to kill him. The divine might of the True Yang Evil Slaying Sword clashed with the power of the massive sword and was sent flying. Godlord Ironsword smugly smiled, and while activating his massive sword, he sent tinsome thoughts at Su Fong. Seeking death, Su Fong's cold brows rose like swords. Fusing the blood-fiend body with his physical body, he took a step forward and punched at the surging wave of sword chi. With this punch, Su Fong used the attack style of the Blood Fiend Divine Guard, displaying true slaughter. Berserk killing energy stirred up a frigid gale that transformed into a storm. The storm swept through the sword chi and God, Lord Ironsword's thoughts. This killing energy contained the Tao rhythm of death, capable of annihilating all life. It instantly extinguished all the Tao rhythm and sword intent in the sword chi, as well as the will and consciousness in the thoughts. The tide-like sword chi instantly became dispirited while the storm of killing energy, stirred up by Su Fong, swept past and struck God, Lord Ironsword. Blood sprayed from God, Lord Ironsword's mouth, and the vitality of his physical body was rapidly drained away. Even his Tao heart was instantly shattered. An upper Tao Lord cultivator, and a formidable sword cultivator at that, had died in an instant. Su Fong's blood fiend body was truly formidable. Left Emissary Han had not fled very far when he sensed God Lord Ironsword's death. Great waves of shock once more arose in his heart, and he did not hesitate to ignite his body and speed up his escape. 3 months later, the dispirited left Emissary Han finally saw the Taoist profound world, and he was instantly overjoyed. The Taoist profound world? Su Fong smiled coldly and embarrassedly while the eyes beneath his brows flickered with a domineering luster. I'm looking for trouble with the Taoist sect. This time, I'll just smash through the Taoist sect. He took out a high-grade medicinal pill and swallowed it before flying towards the Taoist profound world unhurriedly. The Taoist sect's left Emissary Han had fled to a piece of material on the outskirts of the Taoist profound world. This was already the outskirts of the Taoist sect, and a branch of the Taoist sect was overseeing it. Could it be that you dare to chase me all the way to the Taoist sect? Left Emissary Han's heart instantly calmed down when he entered the Taoist sect's branch. Unexpectedly, Left Emissary Han had just rested for less than 3 days when a bone-piercing, cold-killing energy suddenly descended from the sky. Damn it! That kid is actually so arrogant that he dares to chase me to the Taoist sect? Arrogant. That kid is too arrogant. Left Emissary Han's Tao heart almost shattered when he sensed this aura. Chapter 2761. Su Fong, are you planning to challenge the entire Taoist sect by yourself? Left Emissary Han led thousands of cultivators and charged out from the material world, shouting at Su Fong. If you want to kill me, Su Fong, you have to pay the price. So what if I challenge the Taoist sect? Su Fong shouted coldly. Those cultivators outside the Taoist sect didn't know the truth. To them, the Taoist sect was like the sky in the heaven-forsaken desolation region. Su Fong, a mere Tao Lord cultivator, dared to challenge the Taoist sect, which immediately caused a lot of angry roars. Kill that arrogant man. Left Emissary Han forced himself to be calm and ordered all the cultivators guarding the material world to charge towards Su Fong. As for himself, he flew towards the Taoist mysterious world without hesitation. Kill them all. Su Fong released the experts under his command. These cultivators in the material world were just the outer members of the Taoist sect. The strongest one was only a lower Tao Lord. How could they be a match for the experts under Su Fong's command? In less than half an hour, the thousands of cultivators outside the Taoist sect were all killed by Su Fong's subordinates. Su Fong sucked all his subordinates into his black and yellow Dharma body and slowly flew towards the Taoist mysterious world. When Su Fong arrived at the periphery of the Taoist mysterious world, Left Emissary Han had already ordered the cultivators of the Taoist sect to close the boundary gate to the Taoist mysterious world. The Taoist mysterious world was built in a collapsed space area. The huge boundary was integrated with the space as if it was a natural boundary. Su Fong looked at the powerful boundary and frowned. Even a peerless expert like Executioner Grandma, who had surpassed the Tao Lord level, couldn't shake the boundary at all from the outside, let alone him. He originally planned to give the Taoist sect a taste of their own medicine and turn the Taoist city upside down. Now, it seemed that his plan was going to fail. A layer of distorted divine light rose from the boundary. Dozens of thoughts quickly condensed into figures. One of the figures was formed by left emissary Han's thoughts. He finally got rid of Su Fang's pursuit and was very pleased with himself. He shouted at Su Fang Da, "Brat Su Fang, aren't you very arrogant? If you have the ability, why don't you break through the barrier and chase after me? Ha ha! This seat will stay in Dallas City and not come out. What can you do to this seat?" The dozen figures beside left emissary Han were all formed by the thoughts of the Dallas sect's experts who were guarding the spirit formation portal. When they heard left emissary Han's words, they were all shocked and stunned. In the Dallas sect, left emissary Han was also a big shot. His position was higher than most of the elders, and his power was astonishing. At this moment, left emissary Han was facing a Dao Lord cultivator and was so scared that he hid inside the barrier, not daring to come out. However, he had a smug look on his face. It was truly strange and unbelievable. A figure formed from a will of a Dao Lord spoke. "Lord Left Emissary, why don't you charge out of the barrier and crush that kid? Suppress him?" Left Emissary Han glanced at the figure, and a powerful will struck it, immediately shattering it. The other figures were all trembling, but they didn't know what was going on. Left Emissary Han snorted coldly. That Su Fang was able to seriously injure Old Man He Xian and kill the Ghost Flame Sector Lord and Divine Lord Taijian. Which one of you is stronger than these two experts? Or do you think that this seat is weak? The dozen figures all shone with divine light. Left Emissary Han shouted, "Seal the barrier. If anyone lets that Su Fang in, this seat will take his head." Immediately, the dozen figures turned into thoughts and entered the barrier. "Do you think that I can't do anything to you just because you've sealed the spirit formation portal into Dallas' mysterious world?" Su Fang revealed a domineering aura. Less than 100 miles away from the spirit formation portal, Su Fang controlled the flaming cloud flying carriage and floated in the void. Of course, he didn't have the powerful strength to break the barrier and enter Dallas' mysterious world. However, there was no need for him to attack Dallas City. Dallas' mysterious world was built in a huge spatial crack, and this was the only exit. As long as the formation was guarded, the people outside couldn't enter, and the people inside couldn't come out. I don't believe that the cultivators in Dallas' mysterious world will never come out. Su Fang changed his mind and directly guarded the spirit formation portal into Dallas' mysterious world. Time passed day by day. As the spirit formation portal into Dallas' mysterious world was sealed, more and more cultivators were blocked outside Dallas' mysterious world, and the cultivators inside Dallas' mysterious world were also a sea of people. Dallas sect, the #1 force in heaven-forsaken desolation region, was so scared by a Dao Lord that they sealed their mysterious world. This shocked countless people and made them exclaim. There were also people who recognized Su Fang. After killing so many bandits, Su Fang's reputation had long spread throughout Dallas' mysterious world and the surrounding areas. At this time, there were too few cultivators in Dallas' mysterious world who didn't know Su Fang. Most of the cultivators in heaven-forsaken desolation region had killed others to steal their treasures. After recognizing Su Fang's identity, many of the cultivators who were blocked outside the Dallas profound world started to have ideas about Su Fang. However, Su Fang had severely injured Old Monster He Xian and killed Ghost Flame Sector Lord and Divine Lord Taijian. Who would dare to court death? This kid is too arrogant. How dare he block Dallas' mysterious world? He's courting death. He can even kill a peak Dao Lord. If Dallas sect master and grand elder don't take action, who can be his match? A cultivator who just became a Dao Lord has such heaven-defying strength. It seems that the news from Blood Valley is most likely true. So what? Just wait and see. It won't be long before Dallas sect's sect master is alerted. At that time, no matter how heaven-defying he is, he won't be able to escape the fate of being suppressed. Everyone kept a respectful distance from Su Fang and conversed from afar. No one was not shocked by Su Fang's crazy actions. However, everyone also believed that Su Fang's actions were tantamount to courting death and would not have a good ending. Whoosh, a cloud of mist that covered an area of 1,000 feet swept through the void. It seemed slow, but it was actually as fast as lightning. Finally, it arrived outside Dallas' mysterious world. Why are there so many people outside Dallas' mysterious world? A surprised voice came from the depths of the cloud. The cloud suddenly shrank and disappeared, revealing two figures. One of them was a middle-aged man with a square face and sword-like eyebrows. He looked very mighty, and at the same time, there was a shrewd look in his eyes. A woman stood beside him. It was Zhong Diyun, who had some dealings with Su Fong in Blood Valley. The middle-aged man brought Zhong Diyun outside the mysterious world. After asking around, he figured out the whole story. When he saw Su Fong sitting cross-legged in the void, Zhong Diyun was surprised and delighted. Su Fong. Then, Zhong Diyun was about to go forward and greet him. The middle-aged man hurriedly stopped her. That Su Fong is extremely arrogant. He dares to openly provoke the Dallas sect in Dallas City. He will definitely die. If you go over now, won't you be asking for trouble? Zhong Diyun hesitated and said, But if Su Fong did not give the seven-colored blood lotus to me, father would already be dead. The middle-aged man's eyes flashed with shrewdness as he said embarrassedly, Su Fong is courting death by provoking the Dallas sect. He is too arrogant. He is just a Tao Lord. No matter how extraordinary his strength is, how can he challenge the Dallas sect? But what? Although he saved father's life, there is no need for us to die with him, right? The middle-aged man's words made Zhong Diyun fall silent. Then, the middle-aged man stroked his beard and sighed. Father was not cautious enough in the past. That was why I was in danger in the swamp. Now, I finally understand that it is never wrong to be careful. Trust father's judgment. Su Fong is a star of calamity now, and anyone who gets close to him will suffer misfortune. Zhong Diyun hesitated for a moment, and then she gave up on this idea in the end. She stood within the crowd with her father and silently watched the situation unfold. Another half a year passed. The barrier entrance suddenly opened wide, and then a group of cultivators flew out from within the entrance in a formidable array. All of these cultivators were from the Dallas sect, and there were over 10,000 of them. The strongest amongst them was a middle-aged woman. Her face was covered in a layer of frost, and her cultivation had shockingly attained the peak of the Dallas realm. That's the Dallas sect, right, Emissary Chu? Emissary Chu has brought so many experts with her. Looks like there will be a good show to watch. A wave of exclamations of surprise resounded in the space outside the Dallas world. Zhong Diyun's father grunted and said, Just watch. Su Fong is going to suffer great misfortune now. Zhong Diyun started to feel worried for Su Fong. Those cultivators of the Dallas sect flew out from the entrance and shot gazes that were filled with provocation and ridicule towards Su Fong. Su Fong spoke domineeringly. Fuck off. Not a single member of the Dallas sect is allowed to leave the Dallas world. How arrogant. How dare you? The cultivators of the Dallas sect roared furiously. Madman, do you really think the Dallas sect is afraid of you? The Dallas sect's emissary, Chu, shouted coldly, and a thought flashed out. It instantly transformed into a divine might that could freeze everything, and it froze the space around Su Fong. Even Su Fong's Tao heart, willpower, and consciousness were frozen in an instant. Hiss! A ray of crimson-red flames shot out from between Su Fong's brows. He activated a 6 extreme Tao Saint thought, and it was even a thought that came from his fire element avatar. It contained supreme fire element Taoist rhyme and divine might, and it instantly transformed into a cloud of fire that melted his Tao heart and even the surrounding icy intent and aura. Huff! The cloud of fire swept out and enveloped the Dallas sect's emissary Chu. It wasn't just his physical body and avatar that were burned, even his soul was incinerated into ashes. An expert at the peak of the Dalord realm had been killed by Su Fong with such ease. Outside the Dallas world, it instantly fell into a deathly silence. QL11, those arrogant cultivators of the Dallas sect were scared out of their wits, and they hurriedly fled back to the Dallas world. Su Fong's indifferent voice sounded. The Dallas sect schemed against me and sent people to kill me. If you don't give me an explanation this time, no one will be able to leave the Dallas world. From now on, the Dallas world will be sealed. I'll kill every single member of the Dallas sect that comes out. He actually wanted to seal the entire Dallas world with his own strength. After witnessing Su Fong killing the Dallas sect's emissary Chu, his domineering and cold voice made many cultivators outside the Dallas world shiver. Among the crowd, Zhong Daiyun transmitted a message to her father using her nascent spirit. "Father, you seem to have made a mistake this time." Chapter 2762. The door to the Dallas world was closed again. Strange, why didn't the Dallas sect's peerless experts appear? Looks like the rumors about Su Fong in the Blood Valley are true. Su Fong really won all the battles and is listed on the Heavenly Profound ranking. He's protected by the Jushuan Heavenly Law, and experts above the Dallas sect can't attack him. A genius on the Heavenly Profound ranking. I didn't expect another peerless figure to rise in the heaven-forsaken barren region. No wonder. Looks like the Dallas sect's reputation is going to be ruined. Sealed by a Dallas lord, experts above the Dallas sect don't dare to attack, and cultivators below the Dallas sect are no match for him. The Dallas sect has dominated the heaven-forsaken barren region for so many years, and they finally met a tough opponent. Outside the Dallas world, the cultivators recalled all the rumors about Su Fong. They used to think they were all rumors and jokes, but now they had to believe it. That Su Fong is so extraordinary that he's listed on the Heavenly Profound ranking. Zhong Biyun was also very shocked and looked at Su Fong with eyes full of respect. Her father snorted coldly. Even if he's listed on the Heavenly Profound ranking, he can't be so arrogant. The Dallas sect is the most powerful sect in the heaven-forsaken barren region. Even if the peerless experts above the Dallas sect don't attack, they have many experts in the sect. They can drown Su Fong. As time passed, more and more people gathered outside the Dallas world. The cultivators of the heaven-forsaken barren region were afraid of offending the Dallas sect, so they kept a respectful distance from Su Fong. However, the cultivators from the other sects in the eastern Xian divine domain came forward without hesitation, trying to befriend Su Fong. They were stopped by Qin Heng and could only leave embarrassedly. Whoosh, hundreds of wills poured out from the vast boundary of the Dallas world, turning into figures and flying towards Su Fong. The leader was wearing a golden crown and a golden robe. It was the Dallas sect master. Of course, it wasn't his real body, but his thoughts. The figures around him were all formed by the thoughts of the Dallas sect's experts. Dallas sect leader has finally appeared. How can he not come out when a Dao monarch has sealed off his mystic world? This is going to be interesting. A commotion broke out among the cultivators in the sky. They were all ready to watch a good show. Zhong Diyun's father revealed a proud expression and transmitted his thoughts to Zhong Diyun. How is it? Father was right, wasn't he? Even the leader of the Dallas sect has been alarmed. Even if the Su Fong is not suppressed, they will be in big trouble. Although we are indebted to such a person, it is best to stay away from him. The thought shadow of the Dallas sect master stared at the Su Fong. His gaze was like lightning, revealing a shocking pressure of will, which instantly shrouded the Su Fong. Su Fong's body shook and immediately merged the colorful jade heart with the six extreme Dao saints' will, shattering the Dallas sect leader's will. The Dallas sect's master sent a voice transmission over. Humph. Looks like the information I obtained really isn't wrong. You've obtained the avatar of a Dao saint, and you've even fused with his supreme will. No wonder you possess the formidable strength to kill a peak Daoless, and no wonder the elders of the three sovereign profound sects are determined to obtain you. The Daoless sect knows that I have obtained the six extreme Dao saints' Dharma body. Su Fong was stunned. However, he was not surprised. This matter would be exposed sooner or later. Now that Su Fong was on the Heavenly Xian ranking and was protected by the Jushuan Heavenly Law, he was not afraid of experts coming to snatch him. Even if the Daoless sect knew that he had the six extreme Dao Saints' Dharma body, it did not matter. The Daoless sect leader continued to transmit his thoughts. However, if you think that you can be arrogant in the Daoless sect with a dead Dharma body, then you are wrong. You have provoked me. Even the Joshua heavenly law cannot protect you. The Taoist sect was the #1 force in the heaven-forsaken barren region. It was the first time that they were being reasonable. I am arrogant? Su Fong replied with a cold smile. The Taoist sect has spread rumors and made countless bandits attack me. Moreover, the experts of the Taoist sect have personally chased after me. I have come to the Taoist sect to seek an explanation. How can I be arrogant? Moreover, so what if I am arrogant? The experts above the Taoist realm are restricted by the Joshua heavenly law and do not dare to attack me. Even if they are at the peak of the upper Taoist realm, I can easily kill them. Who in the Taoist sect can stop me now? Su Fong revealed his lofty and domineering aura, and the aura of an overlord rose spontaneously. The illusory figures formed by the thoughts of the experts behind the Taoist sect all glared at Su Fong angrily. However, none of them dared to attack. It was left Emissary Han who instigated the bandits to chase after you. It was not my idea. You have sealed the Taoist sect's mysterious world. Aren't you being too arrogant? QL11, however, his tone had obviously softened. He had no choice but to do so. Just as Su Fong had said, the Taoist sect really could not do anything to Su Fong now. Left Emissary Han? Su Fong snorted. Left Emissary Han is from the Taoist sect. Naturally, the Taoist sect should be responsible for what he has done. The Taoist sect's sect master transmitted his voice. What do you want? Su Fong said. That will depend on what kind of explanation the sect master will give to me. Su Fong. Just as the two were communicating with their divine thoughts, the numerous cultivators who were watching from afar were extremely shocked. How overbearing was the Taoist sect in the heaven-forsaken wilderness? They originally thought that the appearance of the Taoist sect's sect master would inevitably lead to an earth-shattering battle. Unexpectedly, the Taoist sect's sect master had no intention of attacking. Instead, he started to reason with Su Fong. In the heaven-forsaken wilderness, the biggest reason was one's fist. Whoever's fist was bigger was the reason. The only explanation for the Taoist sect's sect master reasoning with Su Fong was that Su Fong's fist was big enough that the Taoist sect had no choice but to swallow their anger. Everyone was shocked and communicated with their divine thoughts. Zhong Diyun transmitted her voice to her father. Father, it seems that your judgment is still wrong. Even the Taoist sect's sect master can't do anything to Su Fong. The middle-aged man's expression stiffened, but he still refused to admit that he had misjudged this time. How can my eyes be wrong? Just wait and see. After a while, Su Fong will be suppressed by the Taoist sect. The Taoist sect's sect master pondered for a while. Suddenly, he took out a storage ring and swept it towards Su Fong with a surge of divine power. Su Fong sent his consciousness into the storage ring and found that there were 100,000 mid-grade elixirs inside. Such a large amount of elixirs was definitely a big deal in the heaven-forsaken wilderness. It was enough to tempt the experts who surpassed the Tao Master. The Taoist sect's sect master said in a low voice, "Such compensation should be enough to satisfy you, right?" Of course not. Su Fong kept the storage ring, but he still refused to give up. The Taoist sect's sect master raised his eyebrows. "What else do you want?" Su Fong said casually, "Since it was left Emissary Han who did it, you have to hand over the culprit, right?" The Taoist sect's sect master flew into a rage. "Su Fong, don't push your luck. Sect master, if you don't even agree to such a small condition, then I can only stay here and wait for left Emissary Han to come out. Or I can directly enter the Taoist sect's mysterious world and capture left Emissary Han. At that time, the Taoist sect's reputation in the heaven-forsaken wilderness will be severely damaged. You win. The Taoist sect's sect master clenched his teeth and grabbed the air. A surge of divine power that surpassed the peak of the Tao Master swept a figure out of the vast boundary and landed in front of the Taoist sect master. It was left Emissary Han of the Taoist sect. He also realized that the situation was not good and shouted loudly, "Lord Sect Master, you must help me," Taoist sect master said. "You spread rumors and instigated the bandits to attack Su Fong. You even tried to work with Blackheart Old Monster and Ghost Flame Sector Master, to kill Su Fong. Su Fong is a peerless genius on the heavenly profound ranking, yet you treat him like this. How can I tolerate this? Sovereign, you left emissary Han turned pale with fright. Boom! A supreme will gushed out from the phantom formed by World Lord Wu Dao's thoughts and attacked left emissary Han's Dao heart and soul. Dao's sect master was a supreme expert who had surpassed Dao's lord. Under the suppression of his supreme will, so emissary Han's Dao heart and soul were instantly shattered, leaving only his corpse floating in the void. Su Fong, the Daoist profound world, does not welcome you. Why haven't you left yet? The Daoist sect master shouted coldly. With a flash of thought, he turned into a beam of divine light and disappeared into the boundless enchantment. The phantoms of the other Daoist sect warriors also disappeared. So what if you're the number one force in the heaven-forsaken wilderness? You still have to bow down to me. Su Fong sucked left emissary Han's corpse into his body and smiled domineeringly. Whoosh! All the cultivators who were watching from afar were shocked, and they all cried out in surprise. Many gazes filled with awe fell on Su Fong. Zhong Diyun's father was dumbfounded. He had never imagined that this would be the result. The number one force in the heaven-forsaken wilderness was forced by a Daoist lord to kill the leader of the force. How shocking and subversive was this? Zhong Diyun could not help but smile when she saw her father's expression. Father, I think you've made a mistake this time. The middle-aged man suddenly woke up from his daze and urged Zhong Diyun anxiously. What are you waiting for? Hurry up and go over. Zhong Diyun smiled. Father, didn't you ask me not to go over and meet Su Fong just now? Who said I didn't want you to meet him? Not only do you have to meet him, but you also have to think of ways to get closer to him. If he can become my son-in-law, that would be the best thing. Father, by the time they reacted, Su Fong had already activated the flaming cloud flying carriage and left the Daoist profound world. Zhong Diyun's father regretted missing the opportunity to become friends with Su Fong. After Su Fong left, he went straight to Luhan Island. After Mystery's divine body was reconstructed, she disappeared to cultivate in the serene pool, which made Su Fong very worried. At this time, Su Fong's strength had increased greatly. He planned to go deep into the serene pool to search for Mystery's whereabouts. About 10 years later, Chapter 2763. When he approached Luhan Isle, Su Fong immediately sensed that Luhan Isle was very different from before. He did not know what had happened, but the coldness around Luhan Isle was more than 10 times thinner than before. Regular cultivators basically did not need to expend much effort to enter the material inside Luhan Isle. I wonder what happened. Please don't let it have anything to do with Gloomy. Su Fong became nervous for some reason. He sped up and passed through the streams of coldness, entering the space above the material. He looked over. With his great perfection vision, he immediately saw the entire material. Su Fong's eyebrows furrowed when he saw the scene. Something really has happened. Most of the lakes and ponds in the material had actually dried up now. Only the largest lake that the Gloomwater sect controlled in the past, and a few large ponds remained. However, they had shrunk by more than half. A 3-meter-long black bead hovered above the material. Although the bead wasn't big, it was constantly releasing amazing divine power, crazily sucking in the cold aura of the lake and the pond water below. That black bead mystic treasure was shockingly a peak-top grade mystic treasure. The space within it was incomparably vast, and it was constantly devouring the cold energy of Drifting Cold Island. Sooner or later, it would completely devour Drifting Cold Island. Over 100 cultivators sat in the air around the black bead Xianbao, guarding the bead. These cultivators were clearly not cultivators of Luhan Isle. No one knew where they came from. There was a Dao Lord among them, but he was an ordinary Dao Lord. The others were Dao Lords and Dao Lords. A force like this could be considered extraordinary in the heaven-forsaken desolation region. However, Su Fong did not take them seriously. Su Fong did not alarm the cultivators. He used the life-shrinking technique and projected his ability to sense fate. Wong, Wong, Wong. Very soon, Su Fong sensed the aura of fate of the Gloomwater sect master. He immediately sent out his soul sense. Gloomwater Sect Master, come see me immediately. When Su Fong left Luan Isle, he had suppressed Gloomwater Sect Master because he was afraid that something would happen to Gloomwater Sect in the depths of Gloomwater Abyss. Su Fong, no, Master, you've actually returned? The Master of the Gloomwater Sect was both surprised and stunned. Very soon, he flew over from the material plane. My master. The Master of the Gloomwater Sect clasped his fist at Su Fong before secretly using his senses to sense Su Fong. When he discovered that Su Fong was already an inferior Dowlord, the Master of the Gloomwater Sect was shocked at first. However, a smear of disdain flashed through his eyes. Although the sect master's expression was extremely obscure, it was unable to escape Su Fong's senses. The Master of the Gloomwater Sect has actually become disloyal. Su Fong's heart surged with a fierce aura. Afterwards, Su Fong sensed an extremely powerful seal seed in the Gloomwater Sect Master's palace. However, the seal seed that Su Fong had used to restrain his palace had been removed. However, Su Fong used the power of fate from the life-shrinking technique of the Heavenly Secret, so the seal that restrained the Master of the Gloomwater Sect's fate remained intact. As it turned out, the Master of the Gloomwater Sect had actually been controlled by someone. Clearly, the people controlling him were those cultivators of unknown origins. Su Fong looked at the cultivators around the black bead Xian Bao and asked indifferently, "Which organization do those people come from? Is it worth it for you to betray me?" The Master of the Gloomwater Sect was surprised. Afterwards, he smiled indifferently and said, "They're experts from the Boundless Sect from the Boundless Sea." Su Fong raised an eyebrow coldly. The Boundless Sea? The Boundless Sect? There were countless organizations in the heaven-forsaken wilderness region, so Su Fong naturally did not know about the Boundless Sect. At this moment, Qin Heng's voice rang out from within the Xianhuang avatar. "Master, I do know about the Boundless Sect. They're quite a powerful organization in the heaven-forsaken wilderness region. They're on par with the Ghost Flame Profound World as a whole. The Master of the Boundless Sect is called Master Jackdaw. He's a peak Dowlord. He's a renowned figure in the heaven-forsaken wilderness region." Master Jackdaw, peak Dowlord, Su Fong snickered inside. Seeing how Su Fong remained silent, the Master of the Gloomwater Sect became complacent. "Do you know fear now? The Luhan Isle has already become the territory of a young Master of the Boundless Sect. I'm already a Hall Master under the young Master of the Boundless Sect." Su Fong said indifferently, "Aren't you afraid that I'll directly kill you?" The Master of the Gloomwater Sect sneered. "The imprint you used to restrain me has already been erased by the Dowlord experts under the young Master of the Boundless Sect. What do you do to me? Moreover, I'm a member of the Boundless Sect right now. Do you even dare touch a hair on my head?" Su Fong had used the life-shrinking technique to restrain the Master of the Gloomwater Sect's fate. With the Master's strength, he obviously struggled to sense it. He still did not understand that Su Fong only needed a thought to control his fate. He could even easily wipe it out and make him completely vanish from the world. The Master of the Gloomwater Sect said, "Seeing how you're an extraordinary genius, I'm willing to recommend you to the young Master. Otherwise, since you've come to the Luan Isle, it won't be so easy for you to leave. Recommend me to the young Master of the Boundless Sect?" Su Fong was stunned. He would get some information from the Master of the Gloomwater Sect first. Afterwards, he asked, "The young Master of the Boundless Sect used the presence of the Gloomwater Abyss to refine the Xianbao. Did he discover anything strange in the Gloomwater Abyss?" The Master of the Gloomwater Sect said, "You're still in the mood to worry about that? That's right. When the young Master of the Boundless Sect was refining the Xianbao, not only did he obtain countless origin immortal water and origin immortal mud in the Gloomwater Abyss, but he also discovered an extremely powerful beast." Beast? That's right. It's an extremely rare beast, the inky unicorn oolong. Only a place as cold as the Gloomwater Abyss can give birth to such an extraordinary beast. The beast's strength was extraordinary. It injured many experts of the Boundless Sect. In the end, the young Master used a powerful talisman to injure it, and it dove into the depths of the Gloomwater Abyss. There's actually such a beast hidden in the gloom water abyss. Did something happen to the gloom water abyss? Su Fang's heart suddenly sank. At this moment, a pillar of water suddenly shot out from the depths of the gloom water abyss, rushing towards the black bead in the air, the Xianbao. The surrounding cultivators all struck out, shattering the pillar of water. Swish, swish, swish. Over a dozen cultivators flew out from the material and into the air. The leader was a young man in white robes. There were patterns of ripples on his robes. The young man was extraordinarily handsome. His expression was arrogant as he gave off a condescending aura. QL11, however, the young man's cultivation was not high. He was only at the upper Tao truth realm. The Gloom Water sect master said to Su Fang, "That's the young master of the boundless sect. Hurry up and come with me. With my recommendation, the young master might be happy and let you join the boundless sect. That's your supreme fortune. Let's go." Su Fang was about to take the black bead for the Xianbao. He wanted to use the Xianbao to enter the depths of the Gloomwater abyss and search for Gloomwater's traces. As a result, Su Fang slowly flew over with the Gloomwater sect master. "You were his previous master?" After hearing the Gloomwater sect master's introduction, the young master of the boundless sect looked down on Su Fang in disdain. Before Su Fang could speak, the young master of the boundless sect continued, "I heard that you're rather extraordinary. However, in my eyes, you're no different from an ant. Since you've submitted to me of your own accord, I'll give you a chance. Follow me and serve me for now." The Gloomwater sect master revealed an envious expression. He hurriedly said to Su Fang, "Hurry up and thank the young master." Su Fang rubbed his nose and sneered inside. He was about to kill and steal the treasure. Suddenly, the gloom water in the lake below suddenly churned violently. A black beast charged out from the depths of the lake, lunging towards the boundless young master. The beast seemed like a divine dragon. It was 1,000 feet long, but it had the head of a Qilin. The beast gave off a cold and vicious aura. As soon as it appeared from the gloom water, it immediately sank into coldness. A layer of ice immediately formed on it. This beast was the inky Qilin and oolong that the Gloomwater sect master had mentioned. Hum, hum, hum. The inky Qilin and oolong gave off an aura. It actually caused the Taoist inscriptions from the life shrinking technique within Su Fang's Jiushuan Dao Palace to flicker rapidly. In the end, it transformed into a clear figure. To his surprise, it was Shroud that Su Fang had been worried about. Su Fang was both surprised and stunned. He focused his gaze and discovered a figure on the back of the inky Qilin and oolong. Who else could it be but Shroud? Roar! The inky Qilin and oolong roared furiously. An extremely cold aura instantly froze the space-time of the entire cold drift isle. Even the consciousness Taoist heart and soul felt like it had been frozen. Protect the young master. The Taoist lord of the boundless sect released a strand of consciousness. It transformed into a barrier that blocked the inky Qilin and oolong. Boom! The inky Qilin and oolong smashed its head against the barrier, shattering it. However, it was also sent flying by the backlash of the barrier. Suddenly, Ghost, who was on the back of the black dragon, suddenly shot out a white and cold mystic light from between his eyebrows and paused in the air. It turned out to be a painting. The painting unfolded, and the scene within could be seen. White snow was drifting about, and a small boat was floating on a frozen river. An old man was fishing on the boat. It looked like a very ordinary painting, but it gave Su Fang a feeling that it was even more terrifying than a peak's supreme grade Xianguan. Shroud's gaze landed on the Taoist lord of the boundless sect, and he pointed at the painting. The old man in the picture suddenly moved. He raised his fishing rod and swung it fiercely. The Taoist lord of the boundless sect felt a fatal threat enveloping his entire body. His divine light instantly changed, and he executed a movement technique to escape. Chi! A transparent fishing line shot out from the painting and landed directly on the Taoist lord of the boundless sect. The golden hook entered his body. Then, the fisherman in the painting retracted his fishing rod. The fishing line trembled, and the hook flew out from the Taoist lord of the boundless sect. There was an illusory figure on the hook. It was his origin soul. The soul struggled madly on the hook and let out shrill screams. However, he couldn't escape no matter what. In the end, he was sucked into the painting and fell into the fish basket beside the fisherman. The Taoist lord of the boundless sect lost his soul and became a living corpse. He fell into the lake below. Chapter 2764. Mystery's extraordinary Xian Bao shocked Su Fong. With his current strength, he could easily kill a Tao Lord even if he didn't use his trump card. However, Mystery was different. It had only been a few years since Mystery reconstructed his divine body. It was truly inconceivable that he could kill a Tao Lord. It was mainly because of that Xian Bao. It was extraordinary. It was truly extraordinary. The cultivators from the boundless sect were also shocked by the strange and powerful might displayed by the painting. The boundless sect's young master looked at the painting. His eyes shone brightly, filled with endless greed. He shouted to his subordinates, "What a treasure! What a treasure! Hurry up and give it to me!" Su Fong was both shocked and stunned. The boundless sect's most powerful Tao Lord had been killed. Not only did the boundless sect's young master not plan on fleeing, but he even wanted to steal Mystery's treasure. Moreover, it gave Su Fong the feeling that as long as it was a treasure he fancied, he could take it as he pleased. It seemed like this young man was also an idiot who was used to being arrogant and domineering. The Gloomwater sect's sect master trembled. "Young master, the enemy is powerful. Young master, you should retreat for now," the boundless sect's young master shouted domineeringly. "Who am I? I am the boundless sect's young master. Master Jackdaw is my father. Who dares to touch a single hair on my head?" As soon as he finished speaking, roar! The Inkchilan Oolong roared wildly. Under Mystery's control, it charged into the boundless sect's cultivators. The Inkchilan Oolong's strength was truly astonishing. It was comparable to an ordinary Tao Lord. Not only could the cold chi it spat out restrict the physical body and freeze the cultivator's thoughts and divine abilities, but it also had the ability to freeze the Tao Lord's will and origin soul. The boundless sect's most powerful Tao Lord had been killed by Mystery's Xian Bao. The other cultivators were no match for the Inkchilan Oolong. It spat out cold chi again and again, killing over a dozen powerful Tao Lords. The rest fled frantically. The boundless sect's young master had no intention of running for his life. Instead, he looked at Mystery with a domineering and arrogant expression, as if saying, "You're dead." You controlled the Inky Unicorn and Black Dragon to defeat the other boundless sect cultivators. He directly sealed the Black Pearl Xian Bao and sucked it into the Tao Palace before charging over. "You, go tell that person who this young master is." The boundless sect's young master coldly shouted at Su Fong. Su Fong was speechless. In a place as dangerous as the heaven-forsaken desolate region, it was truly a miracle that an idiot like the boundless sect's young master could survive until now. The master of the Gloomwater sect bellowed at Su Fong. "Didn't you hear what the young master said? How dare you defy young master's orders? Do you want to die?" A vicious light flashed through Su Fong's eyes. A presence of slaughter erupted from his heart, surging out from his body and enveloping the master of the Gloomwater sect immediately. Just how shocking was the strength of Su Fong's Blood Fury avatar right now. However, the master of the Gloomwater sect was only a Tao Lord. Under the impact of Su Fong's fierce presence of slaughter, his Tao heart immediately shattered. He let out a miserable cry and fell down. "How dare you betray me? You deserve death." The boundless sect's young master was shocked at first before he roared thunderously. "Fool!" Su Fong grabbed at the air, and a divine might enveloped the young master of the boundless sect. He was about to suppress him. Little did he know that as soon as the divine might touched the body of the boundless sect's young master, an incomparably powerful aura surged out of his body, shattering Su Fong's divine might. Then, a barrier of light formed around his body, protecting him tightly. One could vaguely make out that the barrier was an old man. It enveloped the young master of the boundless sect and emanated a vast presence and intent of the ways. Surprisingly, It was formed from the thoughts of a peak upper Dowlord. It possessed powerful defenses, and even upper Dowlords would find it very difficult to break through. Su Fong was stunned. So the young master of the Boundless Sect had methods to protect himself. No wonder he was so arrogant. The old man's figure spoke in a domineering manner. I'm Lord Jackdaw of the Boundless Sea. I don't know who you are, but I'll definitely skin you alive for daring to harm my beloved son. The young master of the Boundless Sect said complacently, Do you know how powerful I am now? Oof. Just you wait. My father is already on his way to Luhan Isle. Once his main body arrives, he'll definitely teach you a lesson. Shroud flew over on the Black Dragon. Su Fong, you've finally come back to see me. The Black Dragon looked at Su Fong coldly. When it sensed the presence of slaughter on him, fear flashed through its eyes that were as deep as an abyss. It roared out a few times in agitation. Shroud flew out from the Black Dragon's back and came to Su Fong's side. Boy, my strength has increased greatly now. I can even kill a Dao Lord expert with ease. Did I scare you? Su Fong sensed Shroud's cultivation base and found that it wasn't high. It was only at the upper Dao true realm. It wasn't its peak yet. However, his body contained a type of extremely cold aura that caused Su Fong to feel a wave of apprehension. Obviously, Shroud had obtained a supreme fortune in the depths of the Gloomwater Abyss. Shroud also sensed Su Fong's cultivation base. He nodded and said, Dao Lord Realm? Not bad, but compared to me, you're still lacking a lot. Oomph. The genius of the Pan-Song universe actually caught up with me and surpassed me. I've been very unhappy for many years. Now, I've finally surpassed you. Su Fong rubbed his nose and didn't say anything. Compared to the majority of cultivators, you're quite extraordinary. Don't be discouraged. Shroud patted Su Fong's shoulder and comforted him. However, there was an unconcealable pride in his tone. Back then, in the Prison Suppression Codex, Shroud was a transcendent expert, while Su Fong was still an insignificant ant. In the end, Su Fong rose against the heavens and far surpassed Shroud. How could Shroud endure this? QL11, although his cultivation base wasn't as good as Su Fong's, he had an extraordinary Xian Bao and a strange beast. He could easily kill a Dao Lord. Shroud was naturally very proud and couldn't help but show off in front of Su Fong. At this time, the Boundless Sect's young master sneered disdainfully. In front of my father, your strength is nothing. My father can kill you 10 times over with just a thought. Shroud's icy gaze swept past the Boundless Sect's young master's thought image, and his eyes flashed with wariness and even fear. Su Fong, this kid's background is extraordinary. Leave quickly, or else we'll be in big trouble. Shroud hurriedly urged Su Fong. Then, he summoned his ink unicorn and oolong and was about to quickly leave Driftwood Isle. The Boundless Sect's young master sneered arrogantly. You only want to leave now? It's too late. My father is about to arrive at Driftwood Isle. With his strength, you can't leave at all. Obediently kneel down and kowtow to this young master. Spit out this young master's treasures, and then offer your painting treasure to this young master with both hands. Perhaps this young master will be happy and spare the lives of both of you. Su Fong asked casually, Is your father very powerful? The Boundless Sect's young master said proudly, Powerful? My father, Master Jackdaw, is a peerless expert at the peak of the Upper Dowlord realm. He's invincible in the heaven-forsaken desolate region. Even the Dowlord Sect's master has to be polite to my father. Tell me, isn't he powerful? Peak of the Upper Dowlord realm. Shroud's pupils suddenly constricted, revealing shock and horror. He urged Su Fong, leave quickly. Su Fong said indifferently, There's no hurry. Tell me first, how did you enter the depths of the Gloomwater Abyss? And how did you obtain such an extraordinary Xian Bao and exotic beast? Seeing Su Fong's fearless appearance, Shroud wasn't surprised and secretly sent a voice transmission to Su Fong. Could it be that you secretly used a forbidden technique on that kid? But on second thought, Su Fong possessed all sorts of extraordinary abilities, and he even had the supreme ability to control fate. He could silently shackle the boundless sect's young master. Even if he had an enormous backer, Su Fong was naturally not afraid. Su Fong nodded and replied, "Sort of." Only then did Shroud feel relieved. Then, he slowly told Su Fong about his encounters over the years. It turned out that after Shroud's divine body was reconstructed, he cultivated in the Gloom Water Pool. In order to obtain the best cultivation results, he kept going deeper into the pool and unknowingly entered the depths of the Gloom Water Abyss. Shroud's divine body was reconstructed by the origin god Clay, so the cold energy and shackles in the depths of the Gloom Water Abyss could hardly affect him. In the depths of the Gloom Water Abyss, Shroud kept going deeper and deeper and inadvertently discovered a cave abode in the depths. It turned out that it was a peerless expert called Ancestor Blackwater. One of his avatars was being hunted down by his enemies and was heavily injured. He fled to the depths of the Gloom Water Abyss and opened up a cave abode to recuperate. Later on, this avatar died in the cave abode and left behind an inheritance. Shroud obtained Ancestor Blackwater's inheritance, but he was trapped in the cave abode for a while and couldn't come out. It wasn't until Shroud fused a part of the Xianbao that he came out of the cave abode. That inky unicorn in Oolong was a strange beast born in the depths of the Gloom Water Abyss and was suppressed by Shroud with the help of the Xianbao. When Shroud was preparing to leave the Gloom Water Abyss, Luhan Island was occupied by the young master of the Boundless Sect. He used the black bead to absorb the cold energy of the Gloom Water Abyss to refine the Xianbao. The young master of the Boundless Sect had many experts under his command and possessed extremely powerful rune talismans. Even the inky unicorn and Oolong were injured by the rune talismans, so Shroud had no choice but to hide in the depths of the Gloom Water Abyss. It wasn't until now that Shroud finally fused more than half of the Blackwater Soul fishing diagram and was able to activate more than half of the Xianbao's power, that he came out of the depths of the Gloom Water Abyss. Su Fong sighed and said, "It seems that you are also a person with great luck. Your future achievements are limitless." Shroud said proudly, "Of course. Do you think that you're the only one with great luck? Although my current cultivation isn't as good as yours, I will definitely surpass you in the future. You should obediently call me senior like before." Su Fong laughed. Suddenly, the cold currents outside Luhan Island tumbled violently. A figure forcefully and domineeringly tore through the cold currents and charged into the inner space like a bolt of lightning. Shroud's expression changed greatly. That Boundless Sect's Master Jackdaw is here so quickly. Father, come save me. The young master of the Boundless Sect revealed an excited expression and shouted loudly. Then he laughed proudly at Su Fong and Shroud. "My father is here. You are all dead. I want to see which reckless fool dares to be so arrogant in the heaven-forsaken desolate region. He even dares to look down on me." Chapter 2765. My good son, don't be afraid. I'm here. If anyone dares to bully you, I'll break their neck. The old man comforted the Boundless Sect's young master with a benevolent look on his face. The old man wore a black feather robe, which had been refined from one feather after another. It emanated a sinister, cold aura. The old man's face was thin, and he had a hooked nose. His eyes shone with a domineering and untamed light. At this moment, he was like a vulture that had been enraged by the injury of its chick. His entire body radiated a terrifying, violent aura. A peak-level Tao Lord. Mystery's face instantly turned ghastly pale, and her entire body trembled. She hurriedly sent a voice transmission to Su Fong. "Su Fong, Ink Unicorn, Oolong, and I'll try to stall Master Jackdaw for a moment. You run as fast as you can into the depths of the lake." Su Fong shook his head and smiled. Su Fong looked at Master Jackdaw and said indifferently, "You're Master Jackdaw?" "That's right. I'm Master Jackdaw." The old man's voice was majestic and cold, and he looked down on the world with disdain. "How dare you? You even dare to bully my beloved son. Tell me, how do you plan to die?" "Ugh, ah!" Master Jackdaw looked at Su Fong, his eyes cold and cruel. He looked like he was about to release his will and tear Su Fong and Mystery to shreds. But who knew? When he saw Su Fong's face, Master Jackdaw was first stunned. Then, shock and terror flashed through his eyes. Then, like a chicken that had been choked by the neck, his words came to a screeching halt. All that was left was his muffled voice. The boundless sect's young master became arrogant again. Father, not only did they refuse to give their treasures to me, they even killed people from the boundless sect and stole my treasures. Father, you have to give me justice. You have to rip out their tendons and skin them. Su Fong looked at Master Jackdaw, a hint of a smile on his face. In Master Jackdaw's eyes, Su Fong's expression was like a ferocious beast baring its fangs at him. Master Jackdaw shuddered, and a chill ran down his spine. Master Jackdaw didn't dare look at Su Fong again. He stammered, that, son. I just remembered that I have an appointment with the Dallas sect's leader. Please come with me. Father, it won't be too late to kill these two first. These two are truly hateful. Not only did they steal this child's treasure, but they also killed the people of the Boundless sect. Even after I reveal my identity, they still wanted to kill me. They are clearly looking down on Father. If I don't ruthlessly punish them, wouldn't it damage Father's reputation? The Boundless sect's young master said in surprise. However, he still didn't realize that there was anything wrong. Then, he pointed at Su Fong, gritted his teeth, and shouted, especially this brat. Father, I want you to strip off his soul and torture him with cold energy in the depths of the boundless sea for 1,000,000 years. Otherwise, I won't be able to get rid of the resentment in my heart. Su Fong laughed lightly. Is that so? Master Jackdaw's forehead was covered in sweat. He thundered at the Boundless sect's young master. Shut up. Father has repeatedly warned you that when you are outside, you must be kind to others and not use your power to bully others. However, you have never listened to me. It must be that you have done something wrong first, and that is why you have angered them. The Boundless sect's young master was both shocked and stunned. He looked at Master Jackdaw with an innocent expression. Father, didn't you always say that whether it was in the Boundless sect or outside, as long as I saw a treasure I liked, I should take it back? You wouldn't let a single beautiful woman go, and if anything happened, you would take responsibility for everything? Shut up. When did I ever say that to you? You little bastard, are you really my son or not? How could you trick me like this? Master Jackdaw was both shocked and furious. He slapped the Boundless sect's young master across the face. The Boundless sect's young master spat out a mouthful of blood. He stared at Master Jackdaw in shock, as if he was seeing him for the first time. Mystery was confused as well. Was there something wrong with Master Jackdaw's brain? Strange, far too strange. Master Jackdaw unleashed a wave of divine might and was about to take the Boundless sect's young master away when Su Fong suddenly spoke up. Did I say you could leave? Master Jackdaw's body trembled. He squeezed out a smile and said shakily, Su Fong Da, my son was blind and offended you. Please don't lower yourself to his level. Master Jackdaw, who had been so majestic and insufferably arrogant just a moment ago, the Boundless sect's young master and a peak-level upper Dowlord expert, was now as obedient as a kitten or puppy. Mystery's eyes nearly popped out of her head. Her mind was in complete chaos. The Boundless sect's young master was completely dazed. He stared blankly at Su Fong, unable to understand why Master Jackdaw, who he thought was invincible in the heaven-forsaken desolation region, would be so afraid of this puny Dowlord. Su Fong said, I almost killed your son earlier. Aren't you going to avenge him? Master Jackdaw hurriedly said, if this little bastard was killed by someone from Su Fongda, then that's his supreme good fortune. Otherwise, how could he have the right to die at the hands of someone from Su Fongda? Mystery had just recovered her wits when Master Jackdaw's words struck her like a bolt of lightning in her head. The Boundless sect's young master stared blankly at Master Jackdaw. For a moment, an extremely strange thought appeared in his mind. Is this old bastard an imposter? Did he team up with that kid to trick me? Su Fong continued, my friend killed someone from your Boundless sect, but you're not going to do anything about it. Master Jackdaw's face filled with smiles. Friends from the Boundless sect and Su Fongda can kill as many as they want. If your friend hasn't killed enough, then I'll immediately call over some more from the Boundless sect. Your friend can kill as many as he wants. Mystery and the boundless sex young master's minds were in complete chaos. Su Fong continued, "My friend also stole your son's Xianbao." Master Jackdaw hurriedly said, "If a friend from Su Fongda can have that Xianbao, it will definitely shine brilliantly. This is also the Xianbao's supreme good fortune." Su Fong nodded. "At least you know what's good for you. I won't make things difficult for you and your son." Master Jackdaw was shocked and overjoyed. He repeatedly thanked Su Fong. Unexpectedly, Su Fong continued, "I'll be staying in the heaven-forsaken desolate region for a while, and I just so happen to be lacking a guide. Why don't you stay by my side and act as my guide? What do you think?" Master Jackdaw looked troubled, but when he saw Su Fong's expression, he had no choice but to bite the bullet and agree. Just like that, the boundless sect master, Master Jackdaw, became Su Fong's guide. Mystery couldn't hold it in any longer. He asked, "Su Fong, did you get lucky again? Did you gain the favor of some peerless expert and gain a powerful backer?" The boundless sect's young master couldn't help but feel puzzled. He transmitted his voice to Master Jackdaw through his nascent spirit. "Father, could that kid be from the three supreme profound sects? Even if Su Fong really did find a powerful backer, a peak Dowlord like Master Jackdaw would at most treat him with respect. They definitely wouldn't fear Su Fong to such an extent." However, Mystery and the boundless sect's young master couldn't figure out what was going on. Why would Master Jackdaw treat Su Fong with such reverence? They could only assume that Su Fong had a powerful backer, and that was why Master Jackdaw had no choice but to fear him. Master Jackdaw glanced at Su Fong. Terror seeped out of his deep eyes, but he didn't dare say anything. Su Fong said casually, "Actually, it's nothing much. I just killed a few peak Dowlords not long ago and blocked the barrier to Daolord's profound world." Hiss! Mystery and the boundless sect's young master both gasped. In a heaven-forsaken desolation region, peak Dowlords weren't cabbages that could be found by the roadside. They were supreme existences that countless cultivators had to look up to. Only a small number of peak experts who'd surpassed Dowlord could stand above them. Su Fong had actually killed a few of them with such ease. What shocked the two of them the most was that the Dowlord sect was the #1 power in the heaven-forsaken desolation region. Who would dare to seal off Daolord's profound world? Even those peerless experts who'd surpassed Dowlord wouldn't dare to do so, let alone Su Fong, who was merely a Dowlord. Shocking. Waves surged in his heart. Master Jackdaw smiled bitterly in his heart. "I personally witnessed Su Fong kill Dowlord sect's envoy Chu as easily as killing a chicken. I also personally saw the Dowlord sect's sect master lower his head to him. If you saw it as well, you'd probably be scared to death." Then he wiped the cold sweat off his forehead. "Fortunately, I'm smart. Otherwise, how could I have survived? That Su Fong is a killing machine. Moreover, he's even more overbearing than bandits. He's not someone to be trifled with, and I don't dare to offend him." The boundless young master was terrified. He wasn't an idiot. He'd already realized that he'd almost killed his father this time. Mystery looked at Su Fong with a helpless expression. Just a moment ago, he'd been extremely proud of himself for being able to surpass Su Fong. Who knew? Compared to Su Fong, what was the bit of fortune he'd obtained and the strength he possessed now? Mystery shook his head and said, "Forget it. I've seen through it now. Compared to you, kid, I'm just asking for trouble. There's no way to compare. There's no way to compare." Su Fong smiled embarrassedly. "No matter what, you're still Su Fong Sr." Master Jackdaw hurriedly cupped his fists and bowed to Mystery. "Jackdaw greets Senior." "That's more like it." Mystery instantly felt honored. The disappointment in his heart instantly disappeared. Then he asked Su Fong, "What do you plan to do next?" "Next, I should go to ancient Blue City and settle some grudges." Su Fong's expression turned cold. Then, Su Fong used his divine consciousness to tell Mystery about his encounter with the Celestial Venerable's Destiny Dharma body on the Blood Slaughter platform in the second slaughter city of the Blood Valley. That old bastard still hasn't given up on his evil intentions. Mystery snorted coldly. After thinking for a moment, Mystery transmitted his voice to Su Fong. Su Fong, I won't be going to ancient Blue City. You won't come with me? I'm going to go out and explore. In the cave abode in Gloomwater Abyss, I received Ancestor Blackwater's inheritance. Now, I can be considered his successor. Before his Dharma body died, he left behind his last words for me to find his true body. Senior, take care. Su Fong didn't try to dissuade him anymore. Mystery clearly didn't want to meet the Celestial Venerable again. After all, he was the Celestial Venerable's son. Chapter 2766. Shroud left as soon as he spoke, and he was carried out of Coldstream Isle and vanished without a trace. I wonder how many more years it'll take for me to meet Shroud again. Su Fong suddenly had an empty feeling in his heart. However, he was very clearly aware that everyone's path of cultivation was different. It wasn't just Shroud. It was the same for Shu Wanjin, Luo, Xuanxin, Qingyu, and the Big Goblin. Perhaps following Su Fong would allow them to be safe for their entire lives, and they wouldn't lack cultivation resources. However, this was absolutely not true cultivation, and it was even more difficult to find the true essence of the Grand Tao, so their future accomplishments would be extremely limited. Cultivators should overcome all obstacles and ceaselessly surpass their limits, and it was absolutely not for the sake of enjoyment. It's time to head to ancient Azure City and meet the exalted Heavenly Lord Pan Song. Su Fong quickly discarded the sense of loss in his heart, and then he withdrew Flame Cloud and flew out of Coldstream Isle with Master Jackdaw. Over 10 days after Su Fong left, a figure appeared out of thin air in the sky above Coldstream Isle. There were no traces, no passageways, and no formations. It was like teleportation with a thought. Teleportation with a thought was very simple. After all, one's will and consciousness weren't restrained by space and time. It was much more difficult to teleport with the body, and only peerless experts who'd surpassed the Downlord realm or formidable cultivators who'd grasped the Grand Tao of space could accomplish this. As soon as this figure appeared, it instantly shackled Coldstream Isle space and time. Space and everything else seemed to have fallen into a motionless state. It was a black-clothed young man, and he seemed to be even younger than Su Fong. He seemed to be 17 at most, but he had a face that was exquisite like a woman's. The young man's cultivation wasn't very high, and he was only at the upper Downlord realm. However, he emanated the aura of a ruler that was even more shocking than an expert at the peak of the upper Downlord realm. A thought suddenly flashed from the center of the black-clothed young man's forehead, and it transformed into the might of time that instantly enveloped Coldstream Isle. Strands of light were ceaselessly changing within his eyes, and it was shockingly the events that had occurred earlier. This black-robed youth was actually able to use the supreme great path of time with just his thoughts. He looked into the past. Such a heaven-defying ability was truly incredible. In the end, the scene in the young man's eyes was fixed on Su Fong's figure. Then, the young man's eyes flashed with the illusory image of Su Fong, which fell into the void in front of him. Then, the black-clothed youth took out a Xian Guang from his palm, and a figure appeared. It was a young man with sword-like eyebrows, starry eyes, and a high-nosed bridge. He was the Feng clan's 3 supreme mysterious sect's disciple, Feng Jinhua. In front of the black-robed youth, Feng Jinhua had completely lost his usual domineering aura. All that was left was reverence. The black-clothed youth pointed at the picture scroll and lightly asked, "Is he Su Fong?" "Senior brother, this person is indeed Su Fong," Feng Jinhua replied respectfully. "It seems that Su Fong didn't go far. This time, no matter what, we can't let him get away again." The black-clothed youth took out a silver mirror. It was the royal grade Xianguang sky searching mirror that Zhu Xian Granny had used before. Feng Jinhua flattered, "Senior brother Gu Tianqi has the first elder sky searching mirror. This time, even if Su Fong escapes to the depths of the chaos, he won't be able to escape senior brother Gu Tianqi's grasp. Don't underestimate Su Fong." The black-clothed youth shook his head and said, "Even elder Zhu Xian couldn't suppress him, and he won 100 battles in the second Slaughter City's Blood Slaughter Arena. Even Dong Xinjun was defeated by him. How can such a person be simple? Feng Jinhua snorted. That's because Elder Zhu Xian was too careless. Dong Xinjun, on the other hand, doesn't live up to his reputation. Senior brother Gu Tianqi is the #1 disciple of our three supreme mysterious sects, a peerless genius on the heavenly profound ranking and earth ranking. If it weren't for the fact that young Master Zhongsun Yaoyang was killed and the first elder was enraged, why would senior brother Gu Tianqi personally take action? Gu Tianqi, the #1 disciple of the three supreme mysterious sects, a peerless genius on the heavenly profound ranking and earth ranking. He was extraordinary, extremely extraordinary, and his status in the three supreme mysterious sects even surpassed ordinary elders. Zhongsun Yaoyang had been killed by Su Feng on the blood slaughter arena, yet the first elder of the three supreme mysterious sects had actually dispatched him, the #1 disciple. However, the first elder of the three supreme mysterious sects had no other choice. Su Feng was a genius ranked on the heavenly profound ranking. Even though he was only a genius ranked on the lowest yellow ranking, it restricted the experts of the three supreme mysterious sects that surpassed the Daolord realm from making a move against Su Feng. If the disciple they dispatched was too weak, then it would be equivalent to giving his life away for nothing. Su Feng could even kill a peak Daolord, let alone an ordinary disciple of the three supreme mysterious sects. Thus, the first elder had dispatched Gu Tianqi, the #1 disciple, to take action, and this obviously displayed how highly he attached to Su Feng. I should deal with Su Feng as soon as possible so that I can give the first elder an explanation. My time is precious, so how could I waste my time on such trivial matters? Gu Tianqi smiled casually, and then he activated the Heaven Search Mirror. Su Feng controlled the Flame Cloud Chariot to travel through space. Suddenly, the ancestral dragon's voice resounded from within the Sky-Earth avatar. Little kid Su Feng, let this ancestral dragon out for some fresh air. The ancestral dragon was wild and unrestrained by nature, and he liked to be unrestrained. So, he'd stayed within the Sky-Earth avatar for a long time, so he naturally wanted to come out and relax. Su Feng chuckled and released the ancestral dragon from within the avatar. The ancestral dragon had transformed into his true form, and his figure was much smaller than when he was in Pongsong Universe. He was only around 3 kilometers tall, but he was still extremely awe-inspiring and domineering. After that, the ancestral dragon carried Su Feng and Master Jackdaw on his back as he traveled freely through space, and he was extremely delighted. At this moment, there were very few dangers that could threaten Su Feng within the Heaven-Forsaken region. So, it was a rare opportunity for the ancestral dragon to relax, and Su Feng allowed him to do as he pleased. They encountered quite a few bandits along the way, and a few of them even tried to suppress the ancestral dragon. Before Su Feng could say anything, Master Jackdaw took the initiative and easily killed them all. They'd also encountered many natural dangers, but Master Jackdaw had taken the initiative to resolve them all. Around 50 years later, they weren't far from ancient Azure City. Suddenly, QL-11A blood-colored vine surged out of a seemingly tranquil region of space. Like an octopus tentacle, it caught the ancestral dragon by surprise and wrapped around his waist. The blood-colored vine furiously devoured the ancestral dragon's vitality and blood, and even dragged him into the void. Su Fengda, be careful. It's the Sky-Earth blood vine. Master Jackdaw warned Su Feng as he released his thoughts, which transformed into sharp black blades. Gusts of frigid wind swept through the air and sliced apart the blood-colored vine as thick as a water bucket. The blood-colored vine was incomparably tough. Even with Master Jackdaw's strength as a peak upper human overlord, he was barely able to cut it apart. Moreover, the blood-colored vine's blood was laced with deadly poison. When it landed in the void, it corroded small black holes in space, which continued to sizzle and spread into the surroundings. The ancestral dragon suffered quite a bit as well. His body was corroded by the blood-colored vine, and large patches of blood and scales fell off his body. Su Fong hurriedly sucked the ancestral dragon into his Xian Wang avatar's dimension and tried to help him absorb the poison. Su Fong had plundered Starkiller City, the second largest city in Blood Valley. He could be considered a tycoon now, so he naturally had no shortage of high-grade antidotes on him. However, Su Fong didn't give the ancestral dragon any pills. Instead, he had Gui enter the ancestral dragon's body to absorb the poison. Su Fong had fed Gui blood all the way from the Tsang universe to the eastern profound divine realm, urging it to grow. Gui was a monster born from fresh blood, so it didn't have any cultivation bottlenecks. It only needed to continuously devour blood, poison, and other spiritual objects that contained energy to grow rapidly. Poison was the most effective. As Su Fong possessed many extraordinary abilities, Gui rarely had the chance to display its strength. This time it came in handy. Su Fong waved his hand and pulled the blood color vine that Master Jackdaw had severed to his side. This is the sky-piercing blood vine. That's right. It's an evil creature cultivated by the other tribes. It specializes in devouring the vitality and blood of cultivators, big goblin, and other life forms. The poison it uses can corrode not only the physical body and avatar, but also the mind. It's that powerful. This sky-piercing blood vine isn't the most powerful. When the other tribes invaded Dongxian in the past, a foreign expert released a sky-piercing blood vine to seal off the space and time of a mystic realm. In the end, it devoured all life in the mystic realm. The other tribes' methods aren't just evil, they're endless. Why would a foreign race's sky-piercing blood vine appear here? Foreign experts often sneak into human territory and use human cultivators as nutrients to cultivate sky-piercing blood vines. Sir, leave quickly. There must be a foreign expert hiding here. With your strength, you don't have to be afraid, but you'll be in big trouble. Just as Su Fong and Master Jackdaw were about to leave, another dozen or so blood-red vines appeared out of thin air, waving wildly in the air. Like a gigantic tentacle monster, they swept towards the two of them. You're courting death. Master Jackdaw revealed the loftiness of a peak Dao overlord. Despite his cautious demeanor in front of Su Fong, he was still the overlord of the Forsaken Heaven region. How could his strength be underestimated? Hiss, hiss. Numerous thoughts flashed through his mind and condensed into numerous black feathers. After that, they fused together and transformed into an enormous black crow-like monster that was over 300 m long. It emitted an unpleasant and ear-piercing cry that shook the vines to the point they trembled violently. Whoosh! Jackdaw's wings flapped repeatedly, releasing an eerie chill that froze the void. Hiss! Blood gushed out his eyes, corroding Master Jackdaw's aura layer by layer. The blood-colored vines regained their freedom and swept towards Su Fong and Master Jackdaw. Su Fong's eyes flickered with the light of divination. They changed unpredictably, as if they could see through all mysteries. Next, he reached out and grasped at the air with his sword, condensing it into a flying sword formed by a formation made entirely of slaughter energy. Hiss! The flying sword shot out and disappeared into the void. Cries like that of an infant's rang out from the void. The blood-colored vines writhed wildly, clearly in great pain. After struggling for a while, the blood-colored vines stopped writhing. They floated in the air like lifeless objects. Su Fong had used the Blood Fiend body's ability to directly kill the sky-piercing blood vine's consciousness with his slaughter energy. Sir, you truly are mighty. This humble one prostrates himself before you. Master Jackdaw seized the opportunity to flatter Su Fong. Chapter 2767. Su Fong sucked all of the sky-piercing blood vines into his Dao Palace. He was overjoyed. With so many vines to feed on, Gui's strength would definitely increase significantly. Su Fong Da, Master Jackdaw reminded him. Those vines are definitely ownerless. Let's hurry and leave. Otherwise, we'll attract unnecessary trouble. But before he could finish speaking, a violent and evil intent emerged from the void. How dare you kill my sky-piercing blood vines? I'll make you pay with your lives. Whoosh! a blood-red figure shot out from the void. When he looked over, Su Fong couldn't help but gasp. The figure was definitely not human. It was an alien. Although it had a humanoid form, it was completely different from normal humans. It was over 3 meters tall and looked like a skinned frog. Blood flowed all over its body, and its mouth was wide open, revealing sharp fangs. Its tongue flickered in and out of its mouth, and blood-like mucus flowed out of its mouth. It was a terrifying sight. It's one of the outsider ghost frogs. They're extremely skilled in using poison. Even I have a hard time dealing with them. Lord Su Fong, we have to leave. Master Jackdaw hurriedly sent Su Fong a message through divine will. He then released over 100 streaks of light, which transformed into numerous jackdaw crows. They charged at the monster, instantly freezing the surrounding space. Let's go. Su Fong didn't want to fight this strange and evil creature. He immediately used the burning light escape art. Transforming into a streak of fiery light, he shot away. Master Jackdaw used a mental attack. Black feathers fluttered in the air, emitting waves of cold air that blocked the monster's path. Then he followed Su Fong and fled. The ghost frog charged out of its shackles and madly chased after the two of them. The ghost frog's poison was extremely powerful, but its speed was mediocre. It didn't take long for it to lose track of Su Fong and Master Jackdaw. It was so angry that it roared madly in the void. Roughly 3 days later, a figure walked out of the void. It was Gu Qianxi, the #1 disciple of the 3 sovereign profound sects. Another damned human. I'll devour you. The ghost frog charged out of the void and opened its mouth to spit out a bloody mist, which instantly covered thousands of miles of the void. Sizzle. The terrifying poison corroded the surrounding void layer by layer, causing a large area of the void to collapse. It was about to swallow Gu Qianxi along with the void. Outsiders. Gu Qianxi raised his eyebrows and remained motionless. 3 thoughts flashed out from between his eyebrows. Boom! A thought released the will of a supreme ruler, as if it came from a supreme existence that ruled over all things. It suppressed and shackled the will of the ghost frog, and the bloody mist that covered the void also became weak. Then, another thought released the power of space, instantly sealing the ghost frog and the surrounding space. Not only did it stabilize the collapsing space, but even the ghost frog was shackled to the point where it could not move. Then, the last thought shrouded the ghost frog and erupted with the power of time. Chi! Chi! Time passed on the ghost frog at an astonishing speed that was countless times faster than the real world. Nothing could resist the corrosion of time, and this Xeno race monster was no exception. The poisonous mist and blood on its body swiftly weakened while its vitality flowed madly. Only over 10 breaths of time had passed in the outer area, yet the ghost frog that was enveloped by the power of time had experienced countless years. Its vitality was exhausted, and it was on the verge of death. The 3 supreme mysterious sects had grasped the will of the Heaven Tao, time, and space. However, no matter how supreme a Grand Tao was, it depended on who was executing it. This attack executed by Gu Tianxi's thoughts had easily annihilated a Xeno-race ghost frog that even peak Tao Lords feared. This obviously showed how shocking Gu Tianxi's strength was. Gu Tianxi suddenly stretched out his hand and grabbed. Pooh! A ball of Xian Guang broke out from the ghost frog's body and floated in front of Gu Tianxi. The ghost frog let out a cry. It let out a shrill cry of despair before perishing on the spot. Within the ball of Xian Guang was a ball of bloody things that wriggled incessantly and emanated waves of shocking vitality. It was actually the eggs of the ghost frog. So the reason why the ghost frog lurked in the human world was to capture human cultivators and use their vitality to breed its descendants. Xeno races should all be killed. Gu Qianxi's calm gaze turned fierce. He waved his hand and was about to kill the ghost frog eggs. Then he thought for a moment and absorbed the eggs into his body along with the Xian Guang. The ghost frog's strength wasn't limited to this, so it was to protect its descendants. Many human cultivators are even weaker than these xeno-race monsters. I should keep these ghost frog eggs first. Who knows, they might come in handy in the future. Gu Tianqi's divine light swept through the surrounding void. His eyes surged with the changes of time and the phenomena of the past. Then, Gu Tianqi smiled faintly. I'm about to catch up to Su Fong. After Su Fong and Master Jackdaw escaped from the ghost frog, they used their divine abilities to fly in the void for more than 10 days. Ancient Blue City wasn't far away. Similar to the other cities in the heaven-forsaken desolate region, Ancient Blue City was located in the center of a large area of floating ruins. The ruins stretched for hundreds of millions of miles. There was a huge natural barrier around it that formed a plane of space-time called the Desolate Mystic World. The Desolate Mystic World used to be an extremely prosperous mystic world. Later, the war between human cultivators and the Xeno race destroyed the mystic world, causing it to rapidly decline. Most of the materials lost their vitality and became deathly still. Their spirit energy was almost depleted. Cultivators and other life forms couldn't survive. Only a very small number of materials still had faint spirit energy. Human cultivators built cities on them and lived there. Ancient Blue City was one of them. In the desolate mystic world, Ancient Blue City wasn't the most powerful force, but it was still a first-rate force. Su Fong recalled the information related to the Ancient Blue City in his mind, and a sharp aura surged in his heart. The purpose of this trip to the Ancient Blue City was to completely eliminate the Empyrean Pan Song and sever the karma between the two of them. QL 11-inch Master Jackdaw, you can go now. These pills are for you. Su Fong nodded to Master Jackdaw. Then, he took out a Xian Guang from his palm, which contained a storage ring. Master Jackdaw was both surprised and delighted. He thought he was doomed, so he'd done his best to show off. Who would have thought that not only would Su Fong let him go, but he'd also given him pills? How could he not be delighted? Master Jackdaw sent his consciousness into the storage ring and found 100 blood fiend pills. Although they were all 6-vein pills, they were all silver vein pills that had caused a huge commotion in the Blood Valley. Master Jackdaw didn't cultivate the blood fiend Dharma body, so these silver vein pills were useless to him. However, he knew how valuable these pills were. Every cultivator who entered the Blood Valley scrambled for them. Thank you, my lord. Master Jackdaw cupped his fist to Su Fong in thanks, his heart filled with gratitude. Su Fong waved his hand. Go back and discipline your son well. Otherwise, he'll bring you disaster sooner or later. Yes. I'll definitely lock that little bastard up in the boundless sea and make him reflect on his mistakes. Master Jackdaw nodded repeatedly. Su Fong nodded. Go. Master Jackdaw hesitated, then sent a message to Su Fong. Su Fong da, be careful. When I was in Dallas City, I accidentally heard that not only the 3 highest profound sects, but also the East Profound Heavenly Pavilion and the Great Solar Limitless sect have all sent peerless experts to the heaven-forsaken desolate region. My lord, you are ranked on the Heavenly Profound ranking, and you're extraordinarily strong. No one in the Tao Lord realm can compare to you. However, these factions have all sorts of extraordinary methods and abilities to deal with you. Su Fong da, be careful. Su Fong smiled calmly. I expected this. Thank you for the warning. Master Jackdaw's black robes rippled with black Xianguang. Then, with a flash of black light, he disappeared without a trace. Su Fong traveled through the floating ruins. Along the way, he encountered many natural dangers, as well as ambushes from cultivators and foreign races. Su Fong dealt with all of them. Whoosh! Su Fong flew out of the chaotic airflow and landed on a piece of land. This piece of land was fairly rich in spiritual qi. As a result, there were cities built by cultivators on this land. There were also caves carved out by cultivators on the mountain. Su Fong had obtained information from the Chamber of Commerce. He'd created a profound gate formation in the city, through which one could directly travel to ancient Azure City. Su Fong flew towards the city. Suddenly buzz, buzz, buzz. An extremely ethereal sense swept past Su Fong, causing the Tao runes of the heavenly secret life-shrinking technique to flash rapidly within the Jiuquan Tao Palace. Fortunately, the aura didn't linger on Su Fong, so Su Fong didn't take it to heart. But who knew, before the Tao runes had calmed down, even more mysterious Tao runes, as well as the Tao rune from the heavenly secret decipher, flashed wildly. Danger, fatal danger, was about to descend. The heavenly secret life-shrinking technique and the heavenly secret decipher had the ability to predict the future and fate. It had allowed Su Fong to escape from death many times in the past, and it had never been wrong. He didn't expect that such an inconspicuous piece of land would actually contain fatal danger. Is it from the Eastern Profound Heavenly Pavilion, the Three Supreme Profound Sects, or to the boundless Great Sun Tao? Su Fong's entire body instantly emitted an icy chill. However, his expression didn't change in the slightest. He was as calm as an ancient well, and his speed didn't decrease in the slightest. Just as he was about to cross the mountain ridge, his body suddenly burned with raging flames. He used the burning light escape technique, and his figure shot towards the outside of the land. As expected, you're cunning. No wonder even Dongxian Jun suffered greatly. However, since you've fallen into this seat's cage, how can I let you escape? A voice filled with murderous intent reverberated on the land. Then black and white formation flags suddenly appeared out of thin air on the land, in the air, and in the surroundings. Whoosh, whoosh. Chapter 2768. A formation. Such a shocking formation far surpassed the Grade 2 formation Su Fong had comprehended. Even Master was no match for it. This formation was like a world where yin and yang were in chaos. It distorted heaven and earth and annihilated everything. Its power was unfathomable. Masters was shouted from within the Xianwang avatar. Master, be careful. This is the supreme formation of the Eastern Profound Heaven Pavilion, the inverted yin-yang formation. It's a Grade 7 formation that can break all formations. Experts who have surpassed the Tao Lord realm will be killed by it. Inverted yin-yang formation? A Grade 7 formation? Su Fong's heart sank. Only formation masters above Grade 7 were qualified to be called formation masters. Such formation masters were very rare in the Eastern Profound Divine Realm. The might of a Grade 7 array formation, and one that originated from the Eastern Profound Heavenly Pavilion, was naturally incomparably powerful. So it's an expert from the Eastern Profound Heaven Pavilion. The Eastern Profound Heaven Pavilion is the supreme, transcendent power of the Eastern Profound Divine Realm. To use such a method to circumvent the restrictions of Jiuquan's heavenly laws in order to deal with me, Su Fong. Despicable. Not only had Su Fong defeated Dongxian Jun in the Blood Valley, but he had also killed the city lord of the Second Slaughter City, who had been sent by the Eastern Profound Heaven Pavilion to guard it. How could the Eastern Profound Heaven Pavilion leave the matter at that? Su Fong was listed on the Heavenly Profound ranking and was restricted by the Jiuquan's heavenly laws. Experts who had surpassed the Tao Lord realm could not attack Su Fong. The Eastern Profound Heaven Pavilion was also restricted by the Jiuquan's heavenly laws. Who would have thought that the experts of the Eastern Profound Heaven Pavilion would create such a shocking formation on the path that Su Fong had to pass through on his way to ancient Blue City? As long as it was not an expert who had surpassed the Tao Lord realm, the Jiuquan's heavenly laws would not be affected. This was also something that the Western Profound Daozu had warned Su Fong. The terrifying power of the inverted yin-yang formation surged from all directions in the world. It distorted time and space, disrupted the laws and energy, and swept towards Su Fong. Blood Evil Dharma Body, Slaughter Sword Formation. Su Fong quickly merged the Blood Evil battle form with his physical body. The slaughter mark on the blood armor released a monstrous murderous aura, which turned into streaks of sword chi that intertwined into a shocking sword formation. It collided with the oncoming divine might of the disorder of yin and yang. Boom, boom. In the collision, the sword formation broke down layer by layer and finally collapsed. In the face of the terrifying power of the Level 7 formation, Su Fang's blood, evil Dharma body, also appeared extremely fragile. Xianyang Dharma body, heavenly Dharma body. Su Fang immediately released his celestial Yang Dharma body and heavenly Dharma body. The Xianyang Dharma body released 9 thoughts. The Xianyang Taoist rhyme, aura, mana, and Su Fangs will condensed into 9 divine suns that revolve around the Su Fang. At the same time, the heavenly path Dharma body also released the world tree. The power of yin and yang and Taoist rhymes combined with the 9 suns to form an yin-yang domain that released the divine power of the defensive array formation. Time and time again, the impact caused huge explosions. Su Fang's domain shattered layer by layer amidst the vibrations. The power of the 2 Dharma bodies also seemed to be unable to maintain it for long. A figure floated out of the array formation. It was a middle-aged man wearing a simple gray Taoist robe. He had a kind and amiable look. However, this person's aura was very illusory and also very strange. It constantly changed, giving Su Fang the feeling that his body was constantly changing between black and white, cold and hot, movement, and so on. Not only was this person proficient in the Tao of Yin and Yang, but he was also a peerless expert that surpassed the Taoist master. In terms of cultivation, he was even more powerful than Grandma Heartless and the Taoist sect master. The middle-aged man looked down at Su Fang, and a lofty aura rose spontaneously. Su Fang, you're trapped in the Eastern mysterious heavenly pavilion's inverted yin-yang formation. A mere cultivator below the Tao Lord realm like you is like a sparrow or a fly that has fallen into a net. Any resistance is meaningless. Surrender. Su Fang stared at the middle-aged man. Who are you? The middle-aged man nodded and said, I'm a subordinate of the supreme holiness of spring and autumn. I've made some small achievements in the Tao of Yin and Yang of the Eastern mysterious heavenly pavilion, so people call me Mr. E. That supreme holiness of spring and autumn must be the Heaven Pavilion expert that secretly controls Star Slaughter City in the Blood Valley? That's right. Heaven Pavilion experts also need all kinds of resources to maintain their forces. Apart from a number 1 Star Slaughter City in the Blood Valley, all the other Star Slaughter cities are secretly supported by Heaven Pavilion experts and reap huge profits from them. You killed the city lord and stole his treasures. You've infuriated the supreme holiness of spring and autumn. Once an expert is angry, you can only be reduced to dust. Heaven Pavilion experts were also humans. They also needed to cultivate and nurture their own families and forces. Naturally, they needed an astonishing amount of resources. The Eastern Mysterious Heavenly Pavilion experts secretly controlled Star Slaughter City in the Blood Valley and reaped huge profits and resources from it. Su Fang not only killed the city lord, but also plundered all the treasures and resources in the city lord's mansion. How could the Heaven Pavilion experts let him go? So that's how it is. You're a peerless expert who has surpassed the Tao Lord. Aren't you afraid of being suppressed by the Jioshuan's heavenly laws when you attack me? Haha, a genius on the heavenly Xian ranking is naturally extremely noble in the eyes of ordinary cultivators. However, in the eyes of Heaven Pavilion, you're nothing. Moreover, you're just an unrated genius on the yellow ranking, the lowest level of the heavenly Xian ranking. Heaven Pavilion has too many ways to kill you. Mystery chuckled and snorted at Su Fang. If you want to kill me, Su Fang, do you think I'll let you do as you wish? Su Fang's eyes were filled with determination and unyielding. He released his Xianwang Dharma body again. After fusing the power of more than 1,000 cultivators, Su Fang executed the 6 manifestations returning swords and released a shocking sword formation. Together with his Xianyang, Tian Dao, and Shuesha avatars, he launched a counterattack against the inverting yin-yang formation's might. Su Fang had unleashed his strongest strength, which could crush a peak Daolord expert. He could be said to be invincible among the Daolord realm. However, the inverting yin-yang formation was truly shocking. Moreover, it was driven by the formation flags, so its attacks were endless. Su Fang could not shake it all, even when he unleashed his full strength. I'll try using my nascent spirit Dharma body and see if I can break the formation with a formation. Su Fong was about to release his nascent spirit Dharma body. At this moment, Shi Xian Daozu suddenly spoke from within the Jiuquan Dao Palace. The inverting yin-yang formation is a supreme formation personally created by old ancestor Dongxian. Although this formation can't even unleash a 10,000th of its power, it's definitely not something you can break now. Even Shi Xian Daozu attached great importance to the inverting yin-yang formation, so it was obvious that this formation was truly extraordinary. Then, Shi Xian Daozu spoke something that both surprised and delighted Su Fong. You've advanced the Daolord realm not long ago. According to my promise, I should give you the rewards you deserve. There are some life-saving treasures among the rewards this time. Take a look. As soon as he finished speaking, Su Fong sensed a storage ring appear out of thin air within the chaos region of the Jiuquan Dao Palace. This storage ring was the one that Daozu had used a supreme ability to connect with space and teleport him from the Western mystic divine domain. There were multiple dimensions within the storage ring. In the past, Su Fong could only enter the first dimension. This time, his nascent spirit entered the second dimension with ease. QL11, Su Fong discovered that there were 1,000 different types of pills. However, they weren't the peak mid-rank pills from the first dimension, but peak high-rank pills. Moreover, they were all refined using an ancient pill refinement method that had been lost for a long time, and their medicinal energy was incomparably pure. Pills of this quality were even useful for the cultivation of peerless experts who surpassed Daolord. In the Eastern mystic divine domain, they could be called priceless treasures. Just like last time, the types of pills were different as well, as if they were tailor-made for Su Fong. In addition to the pills, there were also 3 runes. They were actually very ordinary teleportation talismans. However, even the most ordinary items given out by the Western mystic Daolord were extraordinary. A single rune of these teleportation talismans could allow one to instantly move billions of kilometers through space and easily break through all kinds of shackles. Su Fong was overjoyed to receive the rewards from Shi Xian Daozu. You deserve all of this. Compared to your previous performance, it is nothing. Masters in-name disciples in Shi Xian, as long as they work hard, will also receive the same rewards as you. Continue to work hard, Su Fong. You can only rely on yourself. Master can only provide you so much. I will not provide you with wings. That would be detrimental to your growth. Shi Xian Daozu's voice gradually faded into the distance, and then disappeared without a trace. Su Fong's spirits rose when he received Shi Xian Daozu's treasures. However, Su Fong did not plan on using the teleportation talisman to charge out of the inverting yin-yang formation. Unless he had no other choice, how could Su Fong easily waste such a valuable treasure? Also, Su Fong still had trump cards that he had not used. How could he easily use Shi Xian Daozu's treasures? Come back. Su Fong's mind moved, and all of his avatars returned to the Jiuquan Daolord Palace. Mr. Edis smiled proudly and said, "Surrendering is the wisest decision." Surrendering? Su Fong smiled domineeringly. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Dozens of thoughts flashed out from Su Fong's forehead and turned into 6 powerful divine auras that exploded. It turned out that Su Fong had released the 6 extreme Dao Saints' thoughts and merged with the 6 extreme Dao Saints to unleash a powerful attack that surpassed that of a Daolord. Su Fong's strength had increased tremendously. The power of the combined 6 extreme Dao Saints' thoughts and will was even stronger than before. Boom, boom, boom. The inverting yin-yang formation space started to shatter layer by layer under the powerful attacks of the 6 extreme Dao Saint. However, the other experts from Heaven Pavilion kept on activating the array flags and stabilizing the formation. Mr. Ida did not make a move. If he personally controlled the formation, he would definitely be punished by the heavens. The powerful divine aura of the 6 extreme Dao Saints' thoughts shocked Mr. Ida at first, but then he scoffed. This is probably the strength of the 6 extreme Dao Saints' avatar. Since Heaven Pavilion wants to suppress you, they have already investigated your background. If the six extreme Tao Saint had been revived, or if you had the strength to fully control the six extreme Tao Saint's avatar, I would have left immediately. But now, haha, Su Fong, stop your pointless resistance. Is that so? Chapter 2769. Six Extreme Tao Saint. Su Fong immediately released his six extreme Tao Saint Dharma body. A domineering and unruly supreme will erupted with a loud bang as the six great divine powers swept out. Under such an astonishing will, even Mr. E, the cultivator from Heaven Pavilion, felt his body tremble. His will was shaken, and he felt powerless to resist. When one's cultivation reached the level of the six extreme Tao Saint, one would be able to create a world with a single thought. Once his will and divine might were unleashed, it crushed the divine might of the inverted yin-yang array, causing the entire space to shatter rapidly. The six great divine powers merged and evolved, turning into the time, space, and myriad laws. The supreme will of the six extreme Tao Saints also turned into the supreme will of the heavenly way. The six extreme Tao Saints are so powerful. If he hadn't died, he would have been able to kill me with a single glance. Su Fong is a newly ascended Tao Lord, but he's actually able to unleash such astonishing power with his six extreme Tao Saint avatar. He's an extraordinary genius as well. No wonder Dongxian Jun wasn't a match for him. Mr. Ida's high and mighty attitude was now gone, and his heart was in turmoil. Sensing the power of the six extreme Tao Saint celestial body, he knew that it wasn't something he could fight against. Without hesitation, he teleported away and disappeared from the space within the yin-yang reversal grand formation. The six extreme Tao Saints' will, Taoist rhymes, and dharmic powers created a world of time and space, replacing the yin-yang reversal array's time and space and crushing it. The formation flags shattered one by one. The Eastern Profound Heaven Pavilion cultivators that were controlling the formation flags all coughed out blood at the same time. 3 of the weaker Tao Lords had their Tao palaces shattered on the spot. Although they didn't die, they still suffered unbearable injuries. The material of the array formation was also shattered by the impact. The mountain range collapsed, and the city was reduced to ruins. The cultivators in the city and in the mountain range fled in panic. Su Fong retracted his 6 extreme Tao Saint celestial body, and the world around him returned to normal. With his current cultivation, he was able to unleash almost 1/10 of the 6 extreme Tao Saint celestial body strength. Even ordinary peerless experts who had surpassed the Tao Lord would have to avoid him. However, the consumption of Su Fong's energy was also not small. It cannot be maintained for too long. The Eastern Profound Heaven Pavilion's inverting yin-yang formation, a 7th rank formation, is only SOSO. Su Fong smiled domineeringly. This is just a level 7 yin-yang reversal formation made with formation flags. If it was a real level 9 formation, crushing you would be as easy as crushing an ant. Mr. Ida sneered inexplicably and returned to his previous high and mighty appearance. Su Fong shouted, "Mr. Ida, what other tricks do you have? Take them all out. You're lucky this time. I've underestimated you. Don't think that the Supreme Eastern Profound Heaven Pavilion can't do anything to you. You won't be so lucky next time. Let's go." Mr. Ida also knew that there was nothing he could do to Su Fong. If he didn't leave now, he would only be humiliating himself. Thus, he left with the Eastern Profound Heaven Pavilion's experts. Su Fong let out a long sigh, and then staggered a few steps back before he could steady himself. His breathing also became sluggish. Worried that the Heaven Pavilion cultivators would return, Su Fong hurriedly swallowed elixirs to recover. Who would have thought that just as the pill entered his mouth, the Jiushuan Dao scripture and the Tian Yenxian scripture in the Dao Palace suddenly flashed rapidly again, and the movement was even more shocking than the last time. Swish! Swish! From the surrounding void, balls of bloody things suddenly flashed out. There were more than 20 of them in total. These balls of blood were extremely strange. Their insides were wriggling nonstop, as if they were nurturing some kind of evil life. Moreover, the sphere of blood was also imbued with astonishing power from the way of time, causing the sphere of blood to undergo astonishing changes. When those balls of blood first appeared, it was still unclear what was inside. When they surged out of the void, they immediately grew into a fetus. Then, they continued to grow rapidly, 1 foot at a time, and turned into more than 20 horrifying ghost frogs. Although they could not be compared to the ghost frogs Su Fong had encountered before, they were still extremely shocking. That's the life-seizing reversal technique from the 3 supreme mysterious sects. So there are still experts from the 3 supreme mysterious sects lurking around. In the Blood Valley, Su Fong had killed the genius disciple from the 3 supreme mysterious sects, Chu Feng, as well as the great elder's grandson, Zhongsun Yaoyang. Thus, he had a deep understanding of the 3 supreme mysterious sects' divine powers. The 3 supreme mysterious sects were heaven's will, time, and space. Each of these great Daos gave birth to many peerless divine powers. One of these great divine powers was the sect guarding technique of the 3 supreme mysterious sects. It was called the Great Taboo Technique. This divine power was a fusion of the 3 great Daos of heaven's will, time, and space. It was said that it could seal a cultivator's Dharma body and all other abilities, causing the cultivator to completely become immortal. It was extremely domineering and powerful. In the entire Joshuan God realm, it was well known for its prowess. On the other hand, the life-seizing technique of reversal was a divine power that originated from the great Tao of time. This divine power could rapidly accelerate a life form from a nurturing state to an adult state. From there, one would possess great strength in a short period of time. However, this divine power was at the cost of overdrawing one's life. Once it was used, the life form that had been accelerated would quickly die. Moreover, the life-seizing technique of reversal had many restrictions on the cultivator. Only the 3 supreme mysterious sects leaders and a few disciples were qualified to cultivate it. Ordinary elders like Executioner Granny and geniuses like Ling Xingchen and Chu Feng did not even have the right to cultivate it. This also meant that the cultivator from the 3 supreme mysterious sects who had ambushed Su Fong was either a supreme leader or a top disciple in the sect. It was highly likely that it was the latter. The 3 supreme mysterious sects leaders would not risk being killed by the Joshuan heavenly laws to ambush Su Fong. In the blink of an eye, more than 20 ghost frogs rapidly grew to adulthood. Then, they opened their mouths and let out a frog cry. Frogs! The sound caused the void to tremble. Su Fong's Joshuan Dao Palace, Dao Heart, Willpower, and even Origin Soul trembled slightly. However, with the stability of Su Fong's Joshuan Dao Palace, as well as the toughness of his Dao Heart, Willpower, and Soul, the ghost frog's attack could not hurt him. Chi. More than 20 ghost frogs spat out their blood-red tongues at the same time. Like blood-red lightning, they attacked Su Fong. Not only was their speed shockingly fast, but they also had a terrifying power that could pierce through everything. Even the space was torn by the tongues. Su Fong immediately activated the inner thoughts of the 6 extreme Dao Saint Metal Avatar. Since it was a top genius disciple from the 3 supreme mysterious sects who had personally attacked, Su Fong naturally did not think that the other party only had one trick up his sleeve. Therefore, Su Fong decided to end the battle quickly and directly used the 6 extreme Dao Saints' thought attack. Streaks of golden sword chi swept out, cutting off the ghost frogs' tongues one after another. Those ghost frogs let out miserable cries together, and then all of a sudden, they all exploded. In an instant, the ghost frog's explosion turned into a bloody mist that spread out and enveloped Su Fong and the surrounding space. Chi. The ghost frog's poison was truly shocking. The void was constantly being corroded by the poison. Even the various laws and energies were being corroded and shattered. The moment Su Fong's physical defense came into contact with the blood poison, it was immediately corroded and riddled with holes. When his body came into contact with the blood poison, it quickly turned into pus. Su Fong quickly used the Ghost's ability to absorb the poison. However, it could not be neutralized in a short period of time. He had no choice but to use the antidote elixir that Xian Daozu had just given him. Then, he quickly used the Xian Wang avatar's ability. The pagoda's shadow enveloped his body and released the 6 great divine powers, isolating the blood mist that was sweeping over. After fusing the abilities of more than 1,000 experts, the Xian Wang avatar's 6 great divine powers were extremely shocking. Even the blood poison released by the ghost frog's self-destruction could not corrode the defense in a short period of time. After all, the amount of blood poison was very limited and was quickly exhausted. Swish! A divine power suddenly descended. In an instant, it contained the supreme will of the heavenly way and the power of the time and space great Tao. It condensed into a huge enchantment, enveloping Su Fong and the blood poison within. 2 figures stepped out of the void with a single step. One of the young men was the disciple of the 3 highest mysterious sects, the genius of the Feng clan, Feng Jinhua. The other young man in black was the number 1 disciple of the 3 highest mysterious sects, Gu Tianqi. I am Gu Tianqi, a disciple of the 3 highest mysterious sects. Gu Tianqi nodded at Su Fong. He did not have the domineering aura of the number 1 disciple. However, Su Fong felt a great threat from this person and the enchantment that he had cast. It was even more threatening than the inverted yin-yang formation. Terrifying. This young man was too terrifying. Feng Jinhua was like a follower beside him. Geniuses like Ling Xingqian and Dong Xinjun were far inferior to this person. Feng Jinhua said proudly, Senior Brother Gu Tianqi is the number 1 disciple of the 3 highest mysterious sects. Su Fong, why aren't you kneeling down and greeting him? Gu Tianqi waved his hand and looked at Su Fong. A true genius can be killed, but not humiliated. Su Fong, you are very extraordinary. I have seen countless geniuses with your talent, strength, and Dharmakaya abilities. However, there are very few who can be compared to you. Gu Tianqi's attitude made it difficult for Su Fong to be hostile. He cupped his fists at Gu Tianqi and said, Su Fong is deeply honored to be praised by the number 1 disciple of the 3 highest mysterious sects. Gu Tianqi smiled slightly. In time, your future achievements will definitely be limitless. If you are carefully nurtured by a powerful force, it is not impossible for you to surpass me. However, it is a pity that you are born in a low-level universe and do not have a powerful force to back you up. In the end, there is a 99% chance that you will die prematurely on your rise. Su Fong laughed. You're not planning to persuade me to surrender, are you? That's right. Gu Tianqi said very decisively. The chaos is boundless and has no beginning and no end. The human race is just an insignificant existence in the chaotic river of time. The Zhoushuan God realm is just a drop in the ocean. We need countless experts to protect the human race. You're the same as me. We are both future seedlings of the human race. Wouldn't it be a pity if you fall? Chapter 2770. Human cultivators should be united against the outside world. I have never been merciful to other races, but I rarely kill human geniuses. If it weren't for First Elder, I wouldn't have dealt with you. Su Fong, join the 3 Supremes' mysterious sects. I promise you that as long as you apologize to First Elder, I will mediate and ensure that you won't be punished too severely. I can also guarantee that with your talent, the 3 Supremes' mysterious sects will spare no effort to nurture you in the future. I have studied you quite a bit. I know that you have talent and ability, but at the same time, you are scheming and shrewd, as well as an ambition that surpasses the pinnacle. Listen to my advice, and your future will be decided with a single thought. Gu Tianqi spoke eloquently, his tone sincere. Su Fong was surprised by Gu Tianqi's words. He had a whole new level of respect for Gu Tianqi. To think that there was such a genius in the 3 highest profound sects with such extraordinary knowledge. This completely overturned Su Fong's impression of the 3 highest profound sects. Gu Tianqi would definitely be a peerless figure who would shake Dongxian in the future. Even the Eastern Xian divine domain was too small for him, hardly giving him the space to shine. The Joshuan divine domain was the stage for him to shine. Feng Jinhua was shocked and stunned as well. Ever since Su Feng had cast the art of life shortening and planted the karmic thread of life, he had felt a fear towards Su Feng from the bottom of his heart, especially when he had inexplicably helped Su Feng escape in the tomb of the Six Extremes divine saint. It made Feng Jinhua suspect that Su Feng had done something to him. He had always felt uneasy. Now that he saw Su Feng, the uneasiness grew stronger. Therefore, Feng Jinhua could not wait for Gu Tianqi to kill Su Feng immediately. However, how could an ordinary disciple like him defy Gu Tianqi's will? Not only did he not dare to disobey, he had to try his best to please him. Feng Jinhua spoke arrogantly. Su Feng, senior brother Gu Tianqi, is of noble status in the Three Supremes' mysterious sects. He has even been internally designated as the sect's future leader. Being able to obtain his recognition is your supreme karmic luck and fortune. If you still don't know how to appreciate his kindness, then you'll be cutting off your own path to survival. Su Feng was silent for a while. He raised his head to look at Gu Tianqi and said slowly, "In Blood Valley, Dong Xianjun once tried to make me submit. He mocked me for being a lowly, short-sighted frog at the bottom of a well, and he was the eagle that soared in the sky. I told him that I, Su Feng, was the Kuan Peng that swept through the chaos of heaven and earth. One day he would look up to me." Feng Jinhua sneered, his eyes filled with disdain. Gu Tianqi nodded and said, "Dong Xianjun's talent is extraordinary and his ambition is higher than the sky. He's indeed Dongshuan's top genius, but he's a little narrow-minded. His future achievements will at most be limited to Dongxian. Compared to him, you are indeed the Kuan Peng." Feng Jinhua was stunned. He didn't expect Gu Tianqi to have such a high opinion of Su Feng. "Thank you." Su Feng cupped his fists. Then, he said slowly, "A Kuan Peng should be unrestrained and free to roam. It should control its own destiny and surpass all shackles. It shouldn't be controlled by anyone or any force." Gu Tianqi raised his eyebrows slightly. Joining the three highest mysterious sects doesn't mean that you've lost your freedom. Su Feng shook his head with a smile. "Relying on a large force can naturally obtain protection, but you'll lose the various trials of life and death. The space for independent growth will also be imperceptibly restricted." He paused and looked at Gu Tianqi before continuing. "If I join the three highest mysterious sects, I may be valued by the sect and nurtured with all their might, just as you said. However, what is the sect's purpose in doing so? It's to protect the supreme power of the three highest mysterious sects and to dominate the Eastern Xian divine region. Isn't this contradictory to what Brother Gu said just now?" These words made Gu Tianqi frown. It had obviously touched his heart. Take Brother Gu, for example. You had no intention of dealing with me, but because of the great elder of the three highest mysterious sects, you had no choice but to go against your heart. A cultivator should stick to their heart and be free. This is the heart that a cultivator should have. Brother Gu, what do you think? Gu Tianqi's frown deepened. His Tao heart had been greatly impacted. Feng Jinhua loudly rebuked. "Su Feng, you're actually using flowery words to sway senior brother Gu's Tao heart. You're courting death." Gu Tianqi glanced at Feng Jinhua and said indifferently, "Brother Su and I are discussing the Tao. Your Tao heart's level is not high enough, so you don't have the right to participate. Don't make a sound." Feng Jinhua immediately kept quiet out of fear. He looked at Su Feng and nodded. "What you said makes sense. However, ever since you came to the Eastern Xian divine region, although you've rapidly risen, you've also been oppressed by powerful forces. You've offended countless experts and forces, and even the Eastern profound heavenly pavilion. How can you guarantee that you won't die prematurely?" Su Feng said, "Don't worry, Brother Gu. I, Su Feng, have my own means to protect myself." Gu Tianqi shook his head and sighed. "You live in Dongxian, so you have to abide by Dongshuan's rules. You have to respect the powerful and rely on them to achieve your own Tao. This is the best way for a cultivator to reach the pinnacle. You're trying to overthrow the powerful and change your fate. You'll only have to walk a path full of thorns, and eventually, you'll be bruised and bloodied, falling on your way to Tao. The kind of difficulties and obstacles one goes through will determine how much one can achieve in the future. I, Su Fong, will rely on my own efforts to step over the peaks and crush all the experts who try to stop me, Su Fong, all the way to the pinnacle of Tao. A path full of thorns is inevitable. As long as I, Su Fong, can continue to climb up, it means that I haven't really lost. I can still continue to move forward. I, Su Fong, will temporarily compromise. Sometimes I have to endure and yield. However, when it comes to my fate, I won't let anyone control it. I won't let anyone step on my head and allow others to bully and plunder me. Su Fong's casual tone was filled with loftiness. A sense of pride, unyielding dominance, and heroism arose spontaneously, moving and shocking Gu Tianqi. Gu Tianqi sighed. Even I can't compare to your ambition. Have you really decided to continue roaming the Eastern Xian divine domain alone? Su Fong said, maybe I'll join a force in the future and become the platform for me to reach the pinnacle. However, the three supremes' mysterious sects, glancing at Feng Jinhua, Su Fong continued, forgive me for being blunt. The disciples of the three supremes' mysterious sects that I've met are either arrogant trash like this person beside you, or idiots like Zhang Sun Yaoyang. You're the only one who's worthy of my respect. The three supremes' mysterious sects. Haha, if you want me to join such a sect, I'm sorry, but I won't agree. You dare to mock me as trash? Feng Jinhua's face immediately flushed red, as if he had been greatly humiliated. Seeing that Su Fong had made up his mind, Gu Tianqi's eyes were filled with disappointment. However, they became firm and decisive in the next moment. He stared at Su Fong and said apologetically, Su Fong, I'm sorry. I've already used thousands of thoughts to execute the three supremes' mysterious sect's great taboo-breaking art. Su Fong raised his eyebrows as he sensed the might of the great taboo-breaking art. His eyes were filled with seriousness. Great taboo-breaking art. That's right. My sect's great taboo-breaking art is a peerless great divine ability that's famous throughout the Jiuquan divine domain. It can seal a cultivator's body and cut off their connection with the primal chaos of the world. It can prevent a cultivator from using any divine ability. The only thing they can move is their physical body. After being sealed by the great taboo-breaking art, it means that you've lost all your powers and become a useless person. There aren't many people who have mastered this art. Moreover, once it's sealed, only my sect's leader and great elder can undo it. Su Fong, if you change your mind now, it's still not too late. Gu Tianqi said slowly. If that's the case, then I'll have a taste of the three supremes' mysterious sect's supreme divine ability. Su Fong did not hesitate to release his sixth extreme Tao, Saint Celestial Body, and unleash his strongest attack to break out of the area that was enveloped by the great taboo-breaking art. It's too late. Previously, when I attacked you with the ghost frog, it wasn't to suppress you. It was to divert your attention. When I was fighting with the ghost frog, my divine ability had already been completed. You have no way to escape. You won't even have the chance to use any divine ability. Gu Tianqi's thoughts moved, and a vast divine aura swept over from all directions. In an instant, Su Fong felt that time had stopped in the space-time that he was in. The space had also been completely frozen. A supreme will enveloped him in an instant, making it difficult for him to think. The supreme Taoist rhyme that came from the fusion of heaven's will, time, and space quickly seeped into his Tao palace and turned into a mysterious seal. It shackled his Tao palace, celestial body, and all the abilities that he had cultivated from the chaos. Even the sixth extreme Tao, Saint Celestial Body, was sealed by the power of the great taboo-breaking art. It cut off Su Fong's connection with the sixth extreme Tao, Saint Celestial Body. Unlike any other shackles, the power of the great taboo-breaking art was like an invisible barrier that cut off Su Fong and all the powers and abilities that were related to the great Tao. At this moment, Su Fong's physical body at the Great Perfection Realm was not affected at all. He could not use his celestial body, nor could he use his magic power. He could not condense his thoughts and will. The great taboo-breaking art was actually so overbearing. However, there were exceptions. There were two supreme abilities that the great taboo-breaking art could not shackle. Although the great taboo-breaking art that came from the Heavenly Fate platform and the Heavenly Fate mystic unravel were somewhat affected, they were still unable to completely cut off Su Feng's control of destiny and the Heavenly Fate mystic unravel. In other words, the Tai Chi life shrinking art and the Heavenly Fate mystic unravel were far superior to the great taboo-breaking art. Feng Jinhua looked at Su Feng, and his eyes were filled with pride and satisfaction. He sneered disdainfully. "You refused a toast, and now you want to drink a forfeit. Now, you're already a piece of trash. Let's see how arrogant you can be. When we capture you and bring you to the three highest profound sects, the Grand Elder will skin you alive and refine your soul to avenge young Master Zhang Sun Yaoyang." Chapter 2771. I, Su Feng, do not need you to give me any chance of survival. I like to create my own chances. Su Feng was fearless in such a hopeless situation. An unruly and domineering smile appeared on his face. BZZT, BZZT, BZZT. Inside the Jiushuan Dao Palace and the Boundary, the Tianji life contraction art flashed together. Due to being restrained by the power of the great forbidden breaking art, the presence of the Tianji life contraction art was not very strong. Yet under Su Feng's best efforts, it managed to form a blade in the end. The life-severing blade. Swoosh! The blade with the presence of the Tao cut a crack in the shackles formed by the power of the great forbidden breaking art. Even with Su Feng's present cultivation, the Tianji life contraction art could not completely shake the shackles of the great forbidden breaking art. It could only make a crack. However, a small crack was more than enough. A storage ring floated in the chaotic area of the Jiushuan Dao Palace. It was the storage ring that Shi Xiandaozu had used to store the reward for Su Feng. The life-severing blade that Su Feng had formed with the presence of the Tao had cut on the shackles around the storage ring. Su Feng's consciousness took advantage of the moment when the shackles were torn and the terrifying power of the shackles were about to seal the crack to enter the storage ring. A teleportation seal and several pills were swept out of the storage ring and appeared in Su Feng's hand. Su Feng had paid a great price to use the Tianji life contraction art this time. It was similar to using the life-severing blade against an expert. It caused him to lose almost a third of his lifespan. His appearance immediately aged, turning from 17 to a middle-aged man nearing 40. His temples had also turned gray. However, it was worth it to pay such a price. Taking out the teleportation seal meant that he had a chance of survival in his hands. You are able to shake this seat's great forbidden breaking art. Gu Tianqi raised his sword-like eyebrows. His eyes flashed with shock and surprise. The great taboo technique was a top divine ability that was famous in the entire human race. In the various ancient books of the three supreme mysterious sects, there had never been a precedent of someone being able to break free from the shackles of the great taboo technique after being shackled by it. At this moment, there was an exception in front of Su Feng. How could Gu Tianqi not be shocked? Su Feng, I'm sorry. To be on the safe side, I have no choice but to shackle you completely. Gu Tianqi's hands began to form a seal. For the sake of caution, he didn't use his mind to cast the shackles on Su Feng. Instead, he used the seal, which showed how much importance he attached to Su Feng. Senior Brother Gu, not only does this person possess all sorts of powerful divine abilities, he's also very cunning. Why don't we just kill him and hand his corpse over to the Grand Elder? Feng Jinhua took the opportunity to fan the flames. It's too late for you to realize that my divine abilities are endless. Su Feng smiled coldly at Feng Jinhua. Chi, a faintly discernible thread shot out from between Su Feng's eyebrows. It surpassed the shackles of the great taboo art and landed on Feng Jinhua's body in a flash. It connected with his fate. Life-pulling karma thread. Su Feng didn't hesitate to use his lifespan to cast the life-shrinking technique again. He released the supreme divine ability, life-pulling karma thread, to control Feng Jinhua's fate. Back in the Fire Luo mystical world Sky Fortune Cave, Su Feng had already used the life-shrinking technique to plant karma in Feng Jinhua's fate. Now, it was much easier to use life-pulling karma thread to control Feng Jinhua's fate. Otherwise, under the shackles of the great taboo art, Su Feng wouldn't be able to bear the loss of lifespan if he used the life-shrinking technique again. In an instant, Feng Jinhua lost control of his fate. Su Feng's consciousness completely controlled everything about him. At this moment, Feng Jinhua was like a puppet that was being pulled by strings. He had completely lost himself. His face was still filled with pride and murderous intent. Then, his actions were out of his control. Chi! A thought flashed out from between his eyebrows and turned into a thought. It exploded into a swift and violent thunder and bombarded Gu Tianqi's body. Gu Tianqi was in the middle of forming a seal to shackle Su Feng. He didn't expect Feng Jinhua to attack him. Caught off guard, the thunder bombarded Gu Tianqi's body. Not only did it interrupt his hand seals, the shocking destructive power of the thunder sent him flying. His defense was shattered. Lightning flashed all over his body. His body was severely injured. "Brother Gu, I'm sorry." Su Feng laughed and crushed the teleportation talisman in his hand. Whoosh! A shocking power of space distortion enveloped Su Feng in an instant. Even the barrier formed by Gu Tianqi's great taboo art couldn't suppress the power of the talisman. The next moment, Su Feng disappeared without a trace from where he stood. Even the great taboo art of the three highest profound sects was unable to shackle Su Feng. Feng Jinhua returned to normal. When he recalled the scene of him attacking Gu Tianqi, it was as if he had just experienced a nightmare. He looked at Gu Tianqi, dumbfounded. "Senior brother, I definitely didn't mean to attack you. I deserve to die. Please punish me." Gu Tianqi's blood energy surged and quickly healed his physical injuries. He looked at the place where Su Feng had disappeared and was also dumbfounded. After a long time, Gu Tianqi laughed loudly. "Powerful, truly powerful. I didn't expect the Eastern Profound Divine Region to have such a powerful figure. From now on, Gu Tianqi, won't be so lonely on my path to the peak of the Great Tao." Ha ha ha. He didn't feel any disappointment or defeat after Su Feng escaped. Instead, he looked sincerely happy. Feng Jinhua trembled and didn't dare to reply. Gu Tianqi looked at Feng Jinhua and condensed a rune talisman with his thoughts. He handed it to Feng Jinhua and said, "Quickly return to the three highest profound sects and give this rune talisman to the leader. Ask him to persuade the great elder to give up on pursuing Su Feng." Feng Jinhua was confused. "Senior brother Gu, why is that? If my guess is correct, you were already controlled by a supreme divine ability long before this. When he broke through the shackles of the great taboo art and took out the teleportation talisman, it was also that supreme divine ability." Feng Jinhua was so scared that his face turned ashen. What kind of divine ability can be controlled by Su Feng without me noticing? What kind of divine ability can break through the shackles of the great taboo art? It's a supreme divine ability from the most mysterious force in the Jiuquan divine region, the heavenly fate shrinkage art, heavenly fate stage. QL11, according to what I know, the six extreme Tao saint once caused great chaos in the Jiuquan divine region, and it was the heavenly fate stage that killed him. Su Feng was able to control the six extreme Tao saint's avatar, most likely because he mastered the heavenly fate shrinkage art. It's best that the three highest profound sects don't get involved with anyone who is related to the heavenly fate stage. "Yes." Feng Jinhua replied shakily and left quickly. Su Feng looked up at the vast sky. His body couldn't move at all. In this state, he laid there for 3 months. With the help of Shi Xian Daozu's teleportation talisman, he managed to break through the shackles of Gu Tianqi's great taboo art. However, he didn't know how far he was teleported. When he regained consciousness, he found himself lying here. Other than his physical body, his other Tao palaces and avatars were all sealed. He couldn't use his magic power, and he couldn't even gather his Tao heart or will. He couldn't even gather his thoughts to perform any divine abilities or spells. What was worse was that he had used the heavenly fate shrinkage art twice in a row, which had reduced his lifespan by half. He looked like he was in his 40s now, and his body was extremely weak. Furthermore, he couldn't use the teleportation talisman to travel through the endless void. As he couldn't use it to defend himself, his physical body suffered quite a bit of damage. Furthermore, the long-distance teleportation caused his primordial spirit consciousness to almost collapse. The primordial spirits in his other avatars were also shackled, which caused him to be unable to move at all. He just looked up at the sky for 3 months. Su Fong estimated that this place should still be within the boundaries of the ancient Blue City. However, it was located in a wasteland. In these 3 months, he didn't see anyone passing by. However, there were many uninvited guests who frequently visited. Roar! Roar! Low roars came from all directions. Su Fong revealed a bitter smile. I can be considered as a tiger being bullied by dogs. It was a kind of wild beast that was somewhat similar to a wolf. Its entire body was covered with gray and blue fur. Although it wasn't a demonic beast, it was much more ferocious than an ordinary wolf. As early as Su Fong had just been teleported here by the teleportation talisman, this kind of wolf beast had already come to visit him. If it wasn't for Su Fong's physical body that was countless times harder than steel, he would have long been devoured until not even his bones were left. It was unknown how many wolf beasts had their fangs broken by Su Fong's physical body. However, they still didn't give up and came again this time. Hundreds of wolf beasts swarmed out and pounced straight at Su Fong. Their sharp claws and teeth tore at Su Fong's physical body. How formidable was Su Fong's physical body at the Perfection Realm? Even an ordinary Tao Lord couldn't compare to his physical body. Not to mention these wolf beasts were only some ordinary wild beasts. Not only were they unable to harm even a single hair on Su Fong's body, Su Fong even controlled the vibration of his muscles to forcefully break their fangs and claws. Moreover, some wolf beasts were even shaken to death. Even though they were unable to do anything to Su Fong didn't feel good in his heart. With his current strength, killing Tao Lords was like killing chickens, yet at this moment, he was being treated as prey by a pack of wolves. So, his feelings were obvious. Damnable Gu Tianchi, one day I'll shackle you and place you in a den of wolves to enjoy the feeling of being devoured by a pack of wolves. Su Fong was extremely furious in his heart, yet there was nothing he could do. Now, he'd once again experienced the feeling of being a weakling. Swish, swish, swish. Numerous arrows shot over violently from afar, and they descended like raindrops onto the pack of wolves. A large number of wolf beasts were instantly shot down, and they emitted shrill howls as they fled towards the surroundings. Su Fong's body was struck by a few arrows as well. However, with his physical body, those arrows weren't even qualified to tickle him. I finally encountered someone. Su Fong felt a wave of excitement in his heart. Chapter 2772. A series of footsteps approach from afar. There are so many corpses of indigo-furred wolves. We won't have to worry about food for a long time. There's someone else. There are so many indigo-furred wolves, but he's still alive. Cries of surprise rang out. After a while, a dozen people stood in front of Su Fong, sizing up Su Fong as if he were a monster. Su Fong's gaze swept over these people. He could tell that they were all mortals, but they had all cultivated body refinement techniques, so their bodies were far stronger than ordinary mortals. Judging from their clothes, they didn't live a rich life. Most of them were draped in animal skins. They all held weapons in their hands, including sabers, spears, and bows. Su Fong also saw that their weapons were enchanted with extremely simple and clumsy formations. In Su Fong's eyes, they were naturally crudely made, but they were definitely more powerful than ordinary weapons. Su Fong also noticed that they all had a very eye-catching mark on their foreheads. When Su Fong had first arrived in the Eastern Xian Divine Realm, he had been captured by the mercenaries and had been branded with such a mark on his face. Slave mark. This meant that these people were all descendants of low-level cultivators in the universe. They were a special race that the people of the Eastern Xian Divine Realm called the Heaven-Forsaken Slave Race. These people were born with lower status than the people of the Jiuquan divine realm, and their cultivation talent was far inferior to the other races. Gao Tianlei, Hua Tiannu, and the others that Su Fong had met before were just a special kind of people among the heaven-forsaken slave race. Most of the heaven-forsaken slave race would never be able to become cultivators. It was already quite difficult for them to survive. What's going on? A youth parted the crowd. This youth was thin and weak, and his face was pale. However, there was a heroic spirit on his face, and his clothes were not made of animal skins, but linen. It was obvious that his status was higher than the others. Su Fong learned from the others that this youth was called Gao Chuan, the young master of their tribe. Gao Chuan looked at Su Fong in surprise and asked, "Uncle, who are you? Why would it appear in this desolate and uninhabited land?" "Uncle." Su Fong looked to be in his 40s. If he wasn't an uncle, then what was he? "My name is Fong Yu, and I come from Pathless City. I was caught by bandits, and in the end, I was carelessly thrown here. Those bandits also disappeared without a trace." Su Fong said calmly. The legendary largest, profound world city in the heaven-forsaken desolate region, Dallas City, Gao Chuan and the others were all shocked. Their eyes were filled with envy as they looked at Su Fong. They were not envious of Su Fong, but they were envious of Su Fong's family background. "Looks like you've been shackled by bandits. This is going to be troublesome. Fortunately, we'll be meeting up with the big tribes in a few days. There will definitely be cultivators in the big tribes who will be able to help you break free from your shackles." That Gao Chuan was obviously inexperienced and didn't suspect him. He waved his hand and ordered the others to carry Su Fong. Along the way, Su Fong quickly understood everything he needed to know. It turned out that this place belonged to ancient Blue City. However, it was still very far away from ancient Blue City. Of course, that was relative to these mortals. With these mortal speed, they would need more than 10 years to reach ancient Blue City. Outside of ancient Blue City, there were countless tribes. They were all descendants of low-level cultivators. Generation after generation, their numbers kept increasing. The Gao tribe that Gao Chuan belonged to was a small tribe in the wilderness. However, because a big figure appeared in the Gao tribe, the tribe's status was extremely high. What a coincidence! The big figure that appeared in the Gao tribe was none other than Gao Tianlei. Actually, Gao Tianlei wasn't born and raised in the Gao tribe. His father was a member of the Gao tribe. After he became an expert in ancient Blue City, the Gao tribe claimed that Gao Tianlei was a member of the Gao tribe in order to strengthen the tribe's prestige. The Gao tribe's destination this time was ancient Blue City. For some unknown reason, 5 years ago, the ancient Blue City City Lord Mansion suddenly gave an order for all the tribes within the ancient Blue City sphere of influence to gather at ancient Blue City. It was said that the City Lord Mansion invited a supreme expert this time. He planned to bestow God's grace to all the mortals within the ancient Blue City sphere of influence. He would cleanse their marrow and change their innate talent so that they would have the ability to cultivate. In ancient Blue City, the City Lord Mansion was a supreme existence. Who dared to disobey the City Lord Mansion's orders? What's more, to be able to let everyone become a cultivator, this was something that any ordinary person yearned for even in their dreams. Because of this, all the tribes scrambled like ducks and sent out all of the strong youths in their tribes to advance towards ancient Blue City. That ancient Blue City City Lord is the disciple of Emperor Pan Song. He suddenly gave an order for all the youths to gather at ancient Blue City. What does he want to do? Su Fong was astonished and didn't understand. The City Lord Mansion said that they would cleanse the marrow of all the mortals. This was obviously nonsense to coax people. Even if it was a supreme expert that surpassed the Tao Master, it was impossible for them to have the ability to use God's grace to cleanse the marrow of so many mortals. What the City Lord Mansion wants to do is none of my business. I should break through the shackles of the great taboo art as soon as possible and recover my strength. Then, I will go find Emperor Pan Song. Su Fong made up his mind, returning to the tribe. There weren't many youths in the Gao tribe. There were only about 300 people. Seeing that Gao Chuan and the others not only carried back many wolf corpses, but also a living person, it immediately caused quite a commotion. A young girl wearing plain clothes walked forward. She frowned at Gao Chuan and asked, "Little brother, who is this person? How can you casually bring people into the tribe?" The Gao tribe's group heading towards ancient Blue City this time. The patriarch didn't accompany them. The one in charge was this young girl, Gao Chuan's elder sister, Gao Li. Gao Chuan explained Su Fang's matter to Gao Li. Then he pleaded, "Elder sister, this person is quite pitiful. If we don't help him, he will definitely be eaten by wild beasts." Gao Li said coldly, "The journey to ancient Blue City this time is long. Our food is limited. If we bring along a cripple, our clansmen will be dragged down." "No," Gao Chuan pleaded bitterly. In the end, Gao Li agreed to temporarily let Su Fang follow the group. After another 3 months, if Su Fang was still unable to work like now, they could only abandon him in the wilderness. Hearing this, Su Fang helplessly smiled bitterly in his heart. "I didn't think that I would become trash in the eyes of mortals. There was no other way. In his current state, he could only be manipulated by others." Gao Chuan ordered people to place Su Fang on a carriage loaded with animal skins. Su Fang was like a dead person, lying on the animal skins and moving forward. After more than 10 days, Su Fang's physical body, primordial spirit, and consciousness finally recovered slightly. His body could also barely move. Fortunately, when he was using the Heaven's Secret Life shrinking technique to tear apart the shackles of the Great Forbidden Technique, Su Fang took out a teleportation talisman and several medicinal pills from the storage ring that Shi Xiandaozu had given him. QL11, there were a total of 5 elixirs, all of which were peak upper-grade ancient elixirs. 2 of them were ancient elixirs used to recover the physical body. Of the remaining 3, 2 were used to improve cultivation, and 1 was used to cultivate the primordial spirit. The medicinal pills to increase cultivation were temporarily unusable, but the medicinal pills to recover the physical body and strengthen the primordial spirit were timely help. Let's recover the physical body first. Su Fang swallowed an ancient medicinal pill. The medicinal effects of the medicinal pills that came from Shi Xiandaozu were astounding. In less than 10 days, Su Fang's physical injuries had mostly recovered. Not only could he walk, his physical body had also recovered some of its strength. In this state, with the strength of his physical body, he could easily kill a Tao Truth cultivator. When his physical body recovered to peak condition, he could even kill a Tao master with 1 punch. Finally regaining some strength and breaking free of his weak state of being weaker than a mortal, Su Fang felt slightly more at ease. However, he had not recovered much of his lifespan. Su Fang still felt extremely weak. His appearance and hair had not changed much. Seeing Su Fang recover so quickly, Gao Chuan was both surprised and overjoyed. His sister Gao Li was also very surprised. Her gaze when she looked at Su Fang became slightly strange. Clearly, she had seen that Su Fang was extraordinary. The group advanced on the plains and encountered many dangers along the way. However, these dangers were relative to the mortals. They were all wild beasts. At most, there were Yao beasts with weak Yao energy. There was no need for Su Fang to act. The group lacked food and had to send people out to hunt frequently. One time, Gao Chuan brought people out to hunt. Only half of the group returned, and Gao Chuan was seriously injured. It turned out that this time, they had encountered an iron-scaled tiger, which was almost invulnerable. The weapons of the Gao tribe could not threaten the iron-scaled tiger at all. Instead, it had eaten more than 10 people, and Gao Chuan had almost lost his life. While Gao Chuan had been saved, he was on the verge of death and would not live for long. Gao Li had completely lost her mind. She took out all the medicinal pills in the tribe in an attempt to save Gao Chuan's life. Yet those inferior medicinal pills could only treat some small wounds. How could they save the seriously injured Gao Chuan? The doctors of the tribe had already concluded that Gao Chuan would not survive and had Gao Li prepare his funeral. The entire tribe sank into great sorrow. Gao Li wiped away her tears and waved her hand. Bury him. The life of a slave tribe that had been abandoned by the heavens was so cruel. When they encountered a tribesman who was seriously injured, the only way was to end the pain as soon as possible. Let me try. Su Fong parted the crowd and came to Gao Chuan's side. You? The old doctor in the tribe sneered. Even the medicinal pills used by cultivators can't revive the young master. What can a useless person like you do to save the young master? Su Fong had never done anything in the tribe. Naturally, the people of the Gao tribe thought that he was a freeloader. In fact, with Su Fong's strong physical body, he did not need to eat anything at all. But in order not to expose himself, he only ate a little coarse grain every time. Su Fong asked someone to bring a bowl of water. She stirred the water with her fingers and then fed it into Gao Chuan's mouth. The old doctor sneered. Where did you get this divine water? Gao Li looked angry. My little brother is going to die soon. How can you torture him like this? What are you trying to do? Su Fong said lightly. I'm just trying to save a dead horse. You. Chapter 2773. Swish, swish, swish. The surrounding clansmen of the Gao tribe all took out their weapons. They all looked murderous, as if they wanted to skin Su Fong alive. Suddenly, Gao Chuan, who had been unconscious, suddenly cried out in pain. It hurts so much. Everyone was shocked and looked at Gao Chuan with astonished eyes. Sizzle. Those with sharp eyes could see that the wounds on Gao Chuan's body were surging with amazing blood energy. The wounds healed quickly, and his life aura, which was about to die, suddenly became majestic. Under the gazes of many people, Gao Chuan jumped up from the ground after about a dozen breaths. He looked lively and vigorous. He didn't look injured at all. Clang, clang, clang. Some clansmen of the Gao tribe loosened their grip and dropped their weapons on the ground. Several people's weapons hit the backs of their feet, but they didn't realize it at all. They just looked at Gao Chuan in shock. The old doctor's eyes almost rolled out. He murmured, "Divine water. That's the divine water that can save the dead." After that, he suddenly rushed over and grabbed the bowl with both hands as if he had gone crazy. Then he stuck out his tongue like a dog and licked the remaining water stains in the bowl clean. Divine water? Master gave me the upper-grade ancient pill. Although it was mixed with a little bit of medicinal foam and clear water, it is indeed divine water for these mortals. Su Fong laughed in his heart. Gao Li recovered from the shock and pulled Gao Chuan to kneel down in front of Su Fong. Thank you for saving our lives. She was not stupid. At this time, she had seen that Su Fong was by no means a mortal. He was a cultivator, and a cultivator with extraordinary strength. A cultivator was like a god who protected the entire tribe. As long as they could keep Su Fong in the Gao tribe, it would be a great thing for the Gao tribe. The surrounding clansmen of the Gao tribe also knelt down in front of Su Fong. They looked at Su Fong with eyes full of awe and excitement. Su Fong shook his head and said, Gao Chuan saved me, so I saved him. That's your karma. You don't need to thank me. Get up. Gao Chuan looked at Su Fong, and his eyes flashed with a bright light. Uncle, are you really a cultivator? Uncle? The strange address made Su Fong speechless for a while, but he could only acquiesce. I used to be, but now I'm about the same as you guys, Su Fong sighed. His current state was indeed similar to that of a mortal, and he did not know when he would be able to break through the shackles of the great taboo technique. After this incident, the Su Fong's position in the Gao tribe immediately became transcendent. Everyone, including Gao Li, became respectful in front of him, which made Su Fong somewhat uncomfortable. Gao Chuan drank a bowl of Su Fong water mixed with medicinal liquid. In a short period of time, his strength skyrocketed, and he quickly became the #1 warrior in the entire Gao clan. How astounding were the Dan pills that Shi Xian Daozu gave. Although it was just a tiny bit, it was enough to transform Gao Chuan's entire body. Even the old doctor licked the bottom of the bowl. In one night, his white hair turned black, and he became a dozen years younger, showing signs of returning to his youth. The changes of the two shocked all of the Gao clan and caused them to feel even more reverence towards Su Fong. Su Fong sat cross-legged on the carriage every day, trying to break through the shackles of the great taboo technique. He once sent mental messages to the Shi Xian Daozu, but he did not receive any response from the Daozu. Su Fong was slightly disappointed, but he also realized that the shackles of the great taboo technique were not fatal and not unbreakable. Otherwise, the Shi Xian Daozu would not have ignored him. He did not have any good solutions. He could only obediently recover his vitality, and when he had the ability to cast the Tianji life shrinking art again, he would try to break through the shackles of the great taboo technique. More than a month passed. The Gao tribe's troop suddenly stopped, and everyone seemed to be facing a great enemy. Su Fong raised his eyebrows and cast out his great perfection vision. They saw a tiger-like demon beast squatting at the mountain pass in front of them. Its entire body was covered with scales. It was blocking the path of the Gao tribe. Gao Chuan hurried over with a panicked expression. "Uncle Fong, it's the iron-scaled tiger that almost killed me last time. I didn't expect it to be following us." Su Fong retracted his gaze and said indifferently, "Demonic beasts are usually very vengeful. Furthermore, you're the best food for that demonic beast. It is not strange for it to follow you. That demonic beast only has a very weak demonic aura. It should not be difficult for you to kill it. I am too useless, and our weapons are not good enough to break through the demon beast defense," Gao Chuan said with shame. After taking the elixir water, he was not as strong as a cultivator, but he was definitely an expert among mortals. Unfortunately, he only had strength but not skill. Otherwise, he could easily kill that iron-scaled tiger. Su Fong saw through Gao Chuan's thoughts and asked, "You want me to fight for you?" Gao Chuan said embarrassedly, "If it is difficult for Uncle Fong, then forget it. You have to rely on yourself for everything. I can't help you all the time, so I won't fight for you this time." Su Fong's words greatly disappointed Gao Chuan. Just as he was about to leave, Su Fong suddenly said, "Show me your weapon." Gao Chuan was puzzled, and he gave his iron spear to Su Fong. The iron spear was a middle-grade weapon among mortal weapons, and there was a very simple formation engraved on it, if it could be called a formation. Su Fong suddenly broke the iron spear in half. It felt as if he was breaking a tree branch in half instead of an extremely hard iron spear. Gao Chuan was dumbfounded. What shocked him even more was yet to come. He saw Su Fong break the iron spear in half again and again. Finally, he rubbed the iron spear with both hands and kneaded it as if he was kneading dough. Under the pressure of Su Fong's amazing strength, layers of iron slag and impurities fell off. What was originally a piece of ordinary iron became extraordinary in Su Fong's hands. Then Su Fong quickly stretched the piece of iron that had been kneaded into a ball. Soon, a brand new short spear appeared in his hand. Finally, he stretched out his index finger and engraved several marks on the tip and body of the short spear, which intertwined to form a very simple armor-breaking formation. "Take your weapon and kill that iron-scaled tiger. Remember, you have to do it alone," Su Fong said in a deep voice as he threw the short spear to the dumbstruck Gao Chuan. I'm going to kill that iron-scaled tiger alone?" Gao Chuan stammered, his body trembling. "I said, you have to rely on yourself. You have strength and powerful weapons. If you don't have the courage to face a demon beast, how can you change your fate?" Su Fong said lightly, and then closed his eyes, ignoring Gao Chuan. Gao Chuan hesitated for a while, then gritted his teeth and went straight to the iron-scaled tiger. After the time it took to burn a stick of incense, Gao Chuan returned from the mountain pass amidst the cheers of the Gao tribe. He dragged the body of the iron-scaled tiger with one hand and held the short spear with the other. There were many wounds on his body, and he was dripping with blood, but his eyes were very hale and hearty. With Gao Chuan's strength and the weapon modified by Su Fong, compared to the weapons used by ordinary people, it was not an exaggeration to call it a divine weapon. Killing an iron-scaled tiger was naturally a piece of cake. Gao Chuan came to Su Fong's carriage and kowtowed respectfully. "Thank you, Uncle Fong." Su Fong nodded, but his eyes were still closed. He was also a slave tribe forsaken by the gods, and the Gao tribe had some relationship with Gao Tianlei. He owed them a favor, so he naturally wanted to help them. However, there were many ways to help people. If he only gave them powerful weapons without the belief and willpower to improve themselves, then it would be harmful to them. In the following journey, as they went deeper into the vast plains, they encountered more and more wild beasts, including many powerful demon beasts. Su Fong completely modified everyone's weapons with his powerful physical strength and brutal and overbearing strength, and engraved formations on them. This made the Gao tribe's fighting strength more than 10 times. On the way, those wild beasts and demon beasts could no longer threaten the Gao tribe, and they no longer had to worry about the shortage of food. Su Fong had become the god of the Gao tribe. In the eyes of the Gao tribe's clansmen, Gao Tianlei was number 1, and this Uncle Fong was number 2. After the team entered the vast plains, they met many other tribes from outside the ancient Blue City. However, each tribe was afraid and vigilant of each other, and did not unite with each other. The living environment of the heaven-forsaken slave tribe was harsh, and it was not uncommon for tribes to rob each other. It was not strange for them to be wary of each other and even hate each other. On this day, Su Fong, who was sitting cross-legged in the carriage, suddenly opened his eyes and said in a deep voice, "Stop." The Gao tribe's clansmen did not find anything unusual, but they revered Su Fong like a god, so they naturally obeyed Su Fong's words. They hurriedly stopped and waited for the arrival. After an hour, the sound of horse hooves came from the front. Soon, more than a dozen horses galloped towards them. The riders on the horses all had extraordinary skills, and there was true chi surging in their bodies. Although they were not at the true realm, they were all cultivators. The riders passed by the Gao tribe's team and did not have the intention to stop at first. However, the eyes of the leader brightened when he saw the weapons in the hands of the Gao tribe's clansmen, and he ordered the team to stop. "Ask your manager to come out," the leader of the group shouted. His expression was arrogant and overbearing. Gao Li and Gao Chuan walked out of the team. When the riders saw that Gao Li was a woman, their eyes immediately flashed with greed and lust. The leader pointed at Gao Li and said in a domineering manner, "Pick 50 of your best weapons and come with us." Gao Chuan was furious. "I can give you the weapons, but if you want to take my sister away, the spear in my hand will not agree. These lowly barbarians actually want to rebel." Chapter 2774. Then the leader raised his horsewhip and whipped Gao Chuan in the face. A whip mark appeared on Gao Chuan's face, and his face was covered in blood. "Don't push us too far." Gao Li stepped in front of Gao Chuan, and the people of the Gao tribe also stepped forward, glaring at the riders. The leader looked down at everyone and coldly shouted, "I'm from the Tuoba tribe." The expressions of the people of the Gao tribe all changed, and the anger on their faces quickly turned into fear. That big man said arrogantly, "The Tuoba tribe is a high-class tribe and has the right to enjoy the women and property of low-class tribes like you. You dare to disobey the rules of ancient Blue City. Could it be you want to rebel? All of you kneel down for me." Gao Li hesitated, then knelt down on both knees. Gao Chuan and the other people of the Gao tribe also followed suit and knelt down. Of the people of the Gao tribe, only Su Fong was still sitting cross-legged in the carriage. Su Fong's gaze swept past the riders. Different from the people of the Gao tribe, the slave mark on these riders' foreheads was very faint. If one didn't look carefully, it would be very difficult to see. This was because the tribe they were from had extremely powerful cultivators that gradually changed their bloodlines. After generations of changes, not only would the slave mark of these people completely fade away, even their cultivation talent would change. These tribes belonged to the high-class tribes of the vast plains. According to the ancient rules of ancient Blue City, the high-class tribes were above the low-class tribes and had the right to take from the low-class tribes. The leader of the Tuoba tribe looked at Gao Li and coldly said, "Chop off the heads of 10 of your tribesmen, then take your weapons and come with me. If you serve me well, I can guarantee that I won't destroy your tribe." Gao Li, Gao Chuan, and the others all gnashed their teeth, but no one dared to resist. The concept of hierarchy had long been ingrained in their bones, so they didn't dare to have the slightest will to resist. However, to let Gao Li kill her tribesmen and offer her body to the people of the Tuoba tribe. She couldn't do it. Gao Chuan said, Lord Gao Tianlei is our tribesman. If you dare to touch the Gao tribe, Lord Gao Tianlei definitely won't let your Tuoba tribe off. Gao Tianlei. The people of the Tuoba tribe all transformed their divine light. Gao Tianlei was a Tao Lord expert and had entered the Blood Valley to train. He was an expert who was half a step into the one-star divine general of blood slaughter. He could be considered a powerful expert in the entire ancient Blue City. No matter how arrogant the Tuoba tribe was, Gao Tianlei was still someone they had to look up to. How could these burly men not be afraid? Who knew, after a moment of shock and fear, the leader sneered disdainfully, You guys still don't know, right? Because Gao Tianlei colluded with Su Fong, the enemy of ancient Blue City. He was suppressed by Yang Dingtian, the disciple of the city master. Now, he has been shackled in the prison of the city master's mansion. He may be killed at any time. Anyone who is related to Gao Tianlei must die. Your Gao tribe will be exterminated sooner or later. Boom! The man's words were like a sudden clap of thunder, and a rumbling sound resounded in the minds of the Gao tribesmen. Gao Tianlei was caught by Yang Dingtian, and it's because of me? Su Fong frowned. He didn't expect that Gao Tianlei would be implicated by Yang Dingtian's revenge. But it was not strange. Yang Dingtian suffered a great loss in the hands of Su Fong. Now, Su Fong was famous in the whole heaven-forsaken wilderness. Even the Taoist sect had to bow down to him. Not to mention Yang Dingtian, even the heavenly master Pansong was defeated in the second Killing Star City. Yang Dingtian certainly didn't dare to take revenge on Su Fong. Gao Tianlei and Su Fong practiced together in the Blood Valley. Yang Dingtian knew the relationship between them, so it was not difficult for him to vent his anger on Gao Tianlei. All the Gao tribesmen were in despair. The leader of the Tuoba tribe laughed sinisterly. Since you are Gao Tianlei's clansmen, there is no need for me to be polite with you. All of you follow me. From now on, you're all slaves of the Tuoba tribe. Ha ha! This woman, let me have a good time first. Then he jumped off the horse and reached out to Gao Li. Gao Chuan turned around and looked at Su Fong, Uncle Fong. Those Tuoba tribesmen didn't notice Su Fong sitting in the carriage until now. The leader found that Su Fong didn't have the slave mark of the heaven-forsaken slave tribe of the ancient Blue City. His pupils shrank, and his hand stopped at once. Su Fong said indifferently, There is no distinction between nobility and inferiority. Only when you think you are inferiority can you be the real inferiority. The so-called heaven-forsaken slave tribe is an inferior tribe. It is imposed on you by others. If you accept your fate, others will step on you, oppress you, and humiliate you. Now they have stepped on your head. What are you afraid of? The Gao tribesmen were shocked. Then, when he looked at the Tuoba tribesmen, the reverence in his eyes faded a little. Instead, there was a strong, killing intent. How dare you instigate the inferiors to rebel? You are courting death. A Tuoba tribesman roared and rushed to Su Fong on his horse. Then he raised his long saber and chopped at Su Fong's head. Offending the dignity of the strong is a capital offense. Su Fong suddenly opened his eyes. Facing the long saber, he punched out. Boom! The fierce wind caused by the punch shook the air and shattered the long saber. That big man's body and the horse he was riding on were split into pieces. Blood splattered everywhere. Su Fong closed his eyes once more and had a carefree appearance. However, a type of domineering and inviolable aura of an expert arose spontaneously. This punch let everyone know what it meant to offend the dignity of the strong. Offending it means death. Those Tuoba tribesmen were all shocked. They immediately turned their horses around and galloped away. The Gao tribesmen were all a loss. Su Fong said indifferently, If you don't want to be oppressed and humiliated for the rest of your life, kill them all immediately. If you are willing to be stepped on and humiliated, continue to swallow your anger. Gao Chuan shouted wildly, We're going to die anyway. Why not kill those bastards from the Tuoba tribe? After saying that, he threw out the short spear in his hand and killed the Tuoba tribesman. The other Gao tribesmen didn't have any scruples anymore. They threw their long spears and drew their bows to shoot arrows. More than 10 big men of the Tuoba tribe were all killed except for the leader who was lucky enough to escape. However, all the Gao tribesmen were worried and didn't feel happy at all. What they would face next was the crazy revenge of the Tuoba tribe. What awaited the Gao tribe was the destruction of the whole tribe. It seems that I have to do something to the end. Su Fong had planned to go to the ancient Blue City with the Gao tribe and return to the world of cultivators. Then, he would try his best to break the shackles of the great taboo art and solve the karma between him and the heavenly Lord Pan Song. QL11 now, Gao Tianlei was implicated by him and was shackled by Yang Ding Tian. The tribesmen of the Gao tribe couldn't escape death. Of course, Su Fong wouldn't just stand by and watch. Besides, in Su Fong's current state, he could only use his physical strength. However, it was difficult for him to recover his vitality in a short time. He could deal with ordinary cultivators easily, but it was hard to say if he met powerful cultivators. Su Fong decided to cultivate these mortals of the Gao tribe. He wanted to make them strong enough to fight against powerful cultivators in a short time. It was almost impossible for others to make a group of mortals strong enough to fight against powerful cultivators in a short time. However, it wasn't impossible for Su Fong. That night, Su Fong gathered all the Gao tribesmen together. All eyes were fixed on Su Fong. At this moment, Su Fong became their hope. I can give you opportunities and make you have unimaginable strength, but I can't change your fate. Your future is in your hands, and no one can help you. Now you have two choices. You can wait for death here and become the slaves of the Tuoba tribe. Maybe you can save your lives, or pick up your weapons. However, in the end, you might die very miserably. That's because what you will face is not only a high-level tribe like the Tuoba tribe, but also powerful cultivators. There might even be experts from the City Lord Mansion. These are the only two choices. You can choose. Su Fong's calm eyes glanced over the crowd. Fight! I would rather die than be the slaves of the Tuoba tribe. Gao Chuan and Gao Li stood out first and shouted loudly. The other tribesmen of the Gao tribe hesitated and struggled for a while. Then their eyes gradually became firm and they stood out one after another. Very good. Su Fong nodded. God forsaken the slave tribe. God forsaken me. I will go against God. This time, I will lead you to go against God. Su Fong looked at the direction of the ancient Song City. His eyes flashed a fierce light. Next, Su Fong took 1% of an ancient pill that could restore the physical body. Then he turned it into a big pot of elixir water and let all the tribesmen of the Gao tribe drink it. How amazing was the medicinal power of a top-grade ancient pill. Although it was just elixir water mixed with some medicinal foam, its effect on mortals was still amazing. In just 3 days, the tribesmen of the Gao tribe seemed to have been reborn. Next, Su Fong imparted some of the most basic physical body refining techniques and internal qi cultivation techniques to the tribesmen. After Su Fong came to the heaven-forsaken desolate region, he killed countless powerful cultivators and obtained various techniques and magical powers. Unfortunately, they were all in the storage ring and were shackled by the great taboo-breaking technique. It was difficult to take them out, but this was not a problem for Su Fong. He himself was a cultivator of the perfect physical body realm. With his current realm, it was easy for him to create a set of physical body refining and internal qi cultivation techniques for these mortals. It was very difficult to raise these mortals to the level where they could fight against cultivators with only elixirs and cultivation. Su Fong thought of another way. Formation. When a formation reached a high level, ordinary grass, trees, and rocks could be used to kill powerful cultivators. Su Fong planned to use these tribesmen of the Gao tribe to set up a formation and exert power beyond the limits of mortals to deal with cultivators.